isn't just football that the SEC is dominating in. 13 SEC teams in the field. College baseball regionals are set. That's right, 13 SEC teams, 9 from the ACC, 8 from the Big 12, 4 from the Big 10, and then you have a lot of conferences below that with one team that made it into the field when it comes to the college baseball playoffs that will begin on Friday. Welcome into Wire to Wire. Tolo, so good to be with you on this rainy Tuesday. I mean, my goodness, is this the worst May of all time? The coolest May that you can remember? It feels like, March right now, maybe February. But nonetheless, we're here. So good to be with you on this Tuesday, whether you're listening on 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, or on the free Odyssey app. 41 of you watching on the stream, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, where you can watch the show. Tracy already talking about the promos that we're just running. What's up, Tracy? Good to see you in the Facebook stream. College baseball regionals are set, Tolos, and I want to hear from you if you're a Clemson fan, not to throw shade, but if you are a Gamecock fan, obviously we all know your team not in that field this postseason. Hopefully that'll change one day soon. But the SEC's dominance does continue. It set a record with 13 teams earning bids to the NCAA tournament, showcasing the depth, showcasing the competitiveness inside the SEC once again. And, we just had this conversation when it comes to the college football playoff a couple of months ago, right? When the college football playoff teams were revealed, how many teams got in. And we also had the conversation even more so. Obviously, the SEC was down a little bit in football, but even more so with college basketball just a few months ago, with so many SEC teams being in, as tough as a league as the SEC was in college basketball. Well, that translates, that continues, as 8 SEC teams will be hosting regionals. Again, 13 total teams from the conference are in, but the 8 teams hosting are LSU, Texas, Auburn, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Tennessee. Those are the 8 teams from the SEC that will be hosting. But Clemson fans want to hear from you in this segment as we take a look at the Clemson Regional that begins here in just a few days right here in the upstate for the second year in a row. Clemson baseball, Eric Bakich hosting a regional. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open. Phone line's open as well at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Diesel is on vacation this week, so I will be with you solo. Again, phone line's 844-FAN-PHONE. Clemson, they had a great run until the championship in the ACC tournament. Obviously fell short and just got beat by a really good North Carolina team in the championship. 10-run game, 14-4, as Clemson could not get it done in the championship game. However, won enough games in the ACC tournament to secure hosting the regional. Again, there are 9 teams from the ACC that have made the college baseball playoffs, if you will. Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, NC State, North Carolina, and Wake Forest. Those are the teams from the ACC that have made the tournament. And then real quick on Florida State, before we get to Clemson and dive into what their regional looks like. Florida State, man, a little bit of history in the ACC. Florida State hosting a regional in the college baseball postseason for the 37th time, the most in NCAA history. Think about that. Think about that. They were a number 9 seed. Again, 37 times Florida State has hosted a regional. We'll have some more stats for you about the regional upcoming and what's going on with Clemson's regional. Going to dive into that. A big show coming your way, Tolos. If you are a Clemson fan, you'll enjoy today's show in the next few days as we're going to be hot and heavy previewing the Clemson Baseball Regional. The Hurricanes, they had their streak come to an end. We'll get into that in the very next segment. We'll talk to Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate at 3:30. Again, USC Upstate, one of the 4 teams in the Clemson Regional. The Atlanta Braves, how about that? 4 o'clock, we'll get into the Braves. Acuna's return, Orlando Arcia released, and the Braves are not playing the best baseball right now, have lost 4 of the last 5. We'll get into that at 4 o'clock. 4:20, dive into the NBA playoffs and what happened last night. We have Daily Wires coming up at 4:45. We will do Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. We'll open the phone lines up to you Tolos who want to overreact from the long sports weekend. I know it's not a ton of sports happening over the weekend, but still a good amount of sports. A recap of everything that happened. Clemson, South Carolina softball punched out. Their season comes to an end. Audio Blitz coming up. Knicks Pacers tonight. We'll get into that in the 6 o'clock hour. We'll also talk to Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach at Kentucky, at 6:40. So like I said, a loaded show coming your way, especially when it comes to the Clemson Baseball Regional and what's to come in the regional. Tolo, what's up, JD, on the YouTube stream? So good to see you, as well as 51 others on the stream watching. Again, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube's the way you can watch the show. If you just tuned into the show, Diesel is on vacation this week. I'll be with you solo. Phone lines are open. Hub City Spartanburgers text line also open as well at 844-326-3663. And speaking of the Spartanburgers, I know the weather has been pretty crappy so far today, but I did see a post. If you are a resident or live in Spartanburg, work in Spartanburg, and headed to the game tonight, I did see a post where they have the tarp on the field, still planning on playing as of right now, says the Hub City Spartanburgers. Obviously, things could change, and I'll keep you updated on that. But the last post 2 hours ago says the tarp's currently on the field to protect the field. We're still planning on playing tonight. Please call the Hub City front office for up-to-date information regarding weather. We will not respond to DMs or comments about the weather. Our weather policy can be found on our website. So Hub City Spartanburgers still in action as of right now for tonight. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line, want to hear from you on that. Let's see. JD says the weather may or may not be a part of my overreaction call today. I would guess in a negative way there, JD, as I'm with you. The weather has been, for the month of May, less than glorious, right? For the month of May, you expect, even Memorial Day yesterday, right? Want to be outside, want to be on the lake, want to be doing stuff on Memorial Day, cooking out, enjoying your day off. And what is it? Rainy, cloudy, cool, cold. Today's even worse. It's like 50-something this morning when I woke up. I thought I might have been in Seattle or something. Dewey on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says, Diesel being on vacation is unacceptable. That's right, Dewey. No vacation allowed around here, around these parts, until I go on vacation. And then we'll allow it, right? Good to hear from you, Dewey. JD asked, who else was in Clemson's regional? I forget, and I tell you what I think of their draw. Oh, well, that leads me into the conversation. Let's go there, JD. Let's go ahead and look at Clemson's regional. We'll also take a look at the other regionals happening in college baseball. But the Clemson regional this weekend will consist of 4 teams. If you have not seen the 4 teams, if today's your first day hearing about this, the 4 teams are obviously Clemson. They're the number 1 seed in that regional. You have the number 2 West Virginia Mountaineers coming in at 41-14, a really good season for West Virginia. The number 3 seed in the regional is Kentucky, 29-24. Kentucky out of the SEC, one of those 100 million teams that the SEC got in to the college baseball postseason. And number 4, USC Upstate. USC Upstate, who has had an incredible season, a really, really hot finish toward the end of the season, wins the Big South. USC Upstate coming in at 36-23. So those are the 4 teams in the Clemson Regional this weekend. Again, Clemson, West Virginia, Kentucky, and USC Upstate. The schedule is as follows. On Friday, West Virginia, the two, who's 41-14, as I mentioned, will face Kentucky. That game will start at noon on Friday. And then Clemson, the number one seed in their regional, will play host to USC Upstate at 6 o'clock Friday night. So Friday night, right here in the Upstate, West Virginia, Kentucky at noon, a few-hour break, and then Clemson versus Upstate at 6 p.m. It is a very, very interesting regional. If you are a Clemson fan, want to know where you weigh in, where you fall, I saw a lot of people on Twitter, on X over the weekend just complaining and moaning and griping about how difficult this regional was and how Clemson always gets shafted with a tough draw in the postseason. I'll give you my thoughts on that, but want to hear from you, Tolos, as well. Again, what are your thoughts on this regional if you are a Clemson fan? Want to remind you, coming up at 3:30 in the show today, Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate, one of the four teams in the regional, will join me right here on the Fan Upstate. But I don't think it's that difficult of a regional. I don't subscribe to the theory of, Clemson got a tough draw. Look, is college baseball in the postseason difficult? Sure. 64 some odd teams, how many ever teams total, of the best teams in the country going at it. The best teams in the country in the postseason going at it. Is it going to be a cupcake walk? No. Is it going to be an easy road to the super regionals? No. But I don't subscribe to this being a difficult regional whatsoever for Clemson. Again, respectable teams. Very, very good respectable teams, especially what USC Upstate's done. But when you look at this regional, Clemson, Kentucky, West Virginia, and USC Upstate, I'm here to tell you today that Clemson should advance to the Supers. I don't want to hear the complaining. I don't want to hear the whining about how difficult this regional is. Clemson took care of business already once this season against USC Upstate, 7-0 back in the regular season. I know today it's a new season. Friday, rather, is a new season, right? The postseason is a new season. I totally get that, but I don't want to hear this tough draw crap. I really don't. What do you, Tolos, think about that if you are a Gamecock or a Tiger fan when you look at Clemson's draw, 844-326-3663? On the YouTube stream, I do see JD, 58 other Tolos watching on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I don't know where your other fellow Tolos are in the stream, JD. I guess they're late arrivals today. JD says on the stream, this definitely is not a cupcake regional. If I'm Clemson, I want Kentucky to beat West Virginia in their game one. West Virginia definitely has a good team because winning 4 games is nothing to shake your head at, JD says. He also goes on to say, I like Clemson's chances against Kentucky over West Virginia without question. You know what? I will say, West Virginia, they are a good team. A very good team. There's no doubt. Winning 40 games, to your point, JD, is nothing to just joke about. They're a good team that made it into the postseason, but when you look at this Clemson regional, there are tough teams littered everywhere. Like I said a minute ago, it's the freaking postseason. That's what you do. You play tough teams in the postseason. I believe Clemson should and will come out of this regional and advance to the super regional. I'll also tell you, I'll go a step further and say, look, if Clemson doesn't get out of this regional, it's a failure. It's a disappointment on the part of Clemson. And if that upsets you, I'm sorry. But your expectations should be 110% to get out of this regional. For crying out loud, they were the number 2 team in the country at one point this season. How many times, how many conversations do we have all year long about Clemson being an Omaha team, an Omaha contender, Omaha or bust? Heck, even Clemson players were on record earlier this season in interviews saying it was Omaha or bust. So don't come over here and talk, and be upset with me when I tell you these things. I want to be very clear. Like I said a minute ago, it should be and will be a disappointment if Clemson doesn't get out of this regional. you should look at it as a disappointing failure, a disappointing way to end the season. There's just no way that you can have Omaha expectations and then say, oh, well, we got a tough draw because Kentucky, West Virginia, and Upstate are all three good teams. This is the postseason. This is the postseason. I'm not sure what they're saying on other stations today. I'm not sure what the Clemson homers with the orange and purple glasses are telling you to believe, but I don't want to hear the tough draw crap today. Look, everybody has a good team or two in their regional. Go ask Knoxville. Go ask Tennessee, rather. Well, we got Wake Forest. Well, we got Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a good team year in and year out. I know Wake Forest isn't the team they were 2 years ago, but come on. I saw too much of that crap on Twitter today, and I just don't subscribe to that. I don't buy into this whole Clemson got a brutal draw. Go win the regional. You talked all year long about how you were supposed to be in Omaha, so don't come out here in the end of May and say, oh, we got a tough draw. I don't want to hear that. That's so contradictory. So contradictory. Brandon on Facebook says the Braves are trash. All caps. Right now, I would not disagree with you, Brandon. I'm not happy. We'll get into the Atlanta Braves conversation at 4 p.m. today. So if you are a Braves fan, grieve with me at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock today, you can grieve. We can grieve today at 4 o'clock. It's been a rough stretch for the Braves. Let's go to the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Tolo J. Butane says, win more, don't complain about, or don't complain after the draw. I agree with you, Tolo, from the 434. Win more, don't complain about it. Corn Chip on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Good to see you, Corn Chip. He says, a coworker and I were talking about Clemson football, but regardless, football or baseball, would not be surprised if Clemson finds a way to beat themselves. Ooh, Corn Chip throwing some shade, throwing some shots there toward Clemson. I don't know, man. Again, Clemson fans, for the most part, I think 99, I don't want to say 99% of them, that's too high. Most Clemson fans that I follow on social media are level-headed. Most of them are. But the few that I saw last night and today just complaining and crying about this regional being a tough draw, I hate to tell you, but man, that's a bad look for you. It's a bad look for your program. It's a bad look for your school, for your baseball team. Are those teams good? Yeah, they're good. They're respectable. But like I said, man, this time of year, everybody's good. Everybody's good this time of year. You got to win. You got to win. You got to advance to the Supers. You got to be the expectation, the bare minimum is to be in the Supers. You were number 2 in the country. You said you were an Omaha team all year long. Omaha or bust. Come on. JD says on the YouTube stream, my question is, are Clemson fans going ahead and building in excuses if they don't make it out of the regional? That's where I think the tough draw talk is coming from. Could be, JD. And again, I want to be very clear. I have nothing wrong with being realistic. I try to be realistic. Heck, I've been a Clemson fan my whole life. You know that if you listen to the show, right? I don't stray away from that, but I'm not the same Clemson fan that you'll get other places. I try not to be, at least. I try to be a little more realistic. A little more realistic. What is realistic is a 15-game streak that was snapped in the Eastern Conference Finals. This stat is insane. It was finally snapped. We'll get into what happened. Also, Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate, in about 10 minutes right here on the Fan Upstate. Texter from the 316 says, Cole, respectfully disagree. West Virginia is a 40-plus team. USC Upstate's no team to laugh at. And Kentucky has the ability to smash with any team in the SEC. I do think it's a tough draw for us, Texter says from the 316. Texter, look, again, I respect your opinion. Again, this time of year, man, you're going to play tough teams. That's just part of it. Don't ask to be in the postseason if you don't want to play tough teams. It's kind of what you do in the postseason, man. Again, West Virginia's a good team. Kentucky's a good team. But you're supposed to be better. Simple as that. You're supposed to be better. Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate, joining us here in about 5 minutes. A very short segment right here as we will break again in just a few minutes for Kane Sweeney. But the Carolina Hurricanes, boy, I'll tell you this, man, I did not have much hope. I watched the game Saturday night at a local establishment in downtown Spartanburg with a couple buddies. It was on the big screen. The Hurricanes looked horrible. They couldn't score. They couldn't stop the Panthers. And I didn't have much hope. However, all streaks do come to an end, or they say they do. And for the Carolina Hurricanes, the streak was broken. If you have not heard about this, a historic 15-game losing streak. Again, 15-game losing streak in the Eastern Conference Finals with a 3-0 victory over Florida on Monday night. The win marked their first win in the conference finals since June 1st, 2006. Think about that. Prior to that, they'd been swept 2009, 2019, 2023. They had lost the first 3 games, the current series against Florida. The 15-game skid was the longest losing streak by any team in a single playoff round other than the Stanley Cup final in NHL history. And the Hurricanes finally broke the streak. So the 15-game losing streak, which is just quite embarrassing in the Eastern Conference Finals, has come to an end. And the Hurricanes now trail the Florida Panthers 3-1. Game 5 Wednesday night in Raleigh. It'd be awesome somehow, some way, if they could pull that off. But we'll see. The main thing is the streak's broken. I know that doesn't sound like what you want to hear if you're a Canes fan, but the streak is gone. Madcraft on the YouTube stream says, so where is the D? I'm referencing, or I guess you're referencing Diesel. He is on vacation. He will be back next week. I'm solo this week, and we're going to run right back to a break because Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate, they're playing in the Clemson Regional. He joins us next. Time to talk a little college baseball and what's happening locally right here in the upstate this weekend in the Clemson Regional. Welcome into Wire to Wire. So good to be with you on this Tuesday. We're joined now by one of two coaches participating in this weekend's regional. First, we bring on Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. You've heard him on this show before. Coach, how are you?
Oh, doing great. Better than the last time that I think I was on the show.
Well, hopefully it
that was
stays.
a good time too.
Hopefully it stays that way, Coach. We appreciate you taking time to join us in the midst of a busy week. Congratulations on making the postseason. Before we get into what happened in the tournament and what lies ahead this weekend, can you give our listeners out there that really don't know what it looks like this week for a team like USC Upstate to have to go to Clemson? Obviously not a far drive this weekend in the regional, but your preparation leading up to this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I mean, obviously we're doing scouting reports and all that as a coaching staff, but for our players, it's still kind of the same schedule that we've been on. You know, we're going to lift in the mornings, we're going to practice in the afternoon. We'll talk about scouting report stuff probably tomorrow. We'll start diving in a little bit with our players so they have an idea. At this point, we're still kind of trying to figure out what we think Clemson is going to do against us in terms of what their pitching plan is and what they're going to do offensively. I think they're a different team than they were when they played us earlier in the year, and we're a different team than we were when we played earlier in the year. So I'm kind of curious to see what changes have been made from their end of things and what changes have been made from our end of things, and go play ball.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. We'll dive back into that in just a few minutes, Coach, about Clemson and your previous matchup with them. But let's talk about that Big South Championship, the tournament you guys, Winthrop, High Point, and Charleston Southern, 7-0 against Winthrop, 13-9 against High Point, and then 14-2 against Charleston Southern. Did you feel like going into the tournament with a sweep over UNC Asheville, and then obviously some really good series with like PC and Longwood before that y'all were really playing your best baseball heading into the Big South Championship tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like we played our best baseball the last month of the year. I think going in, I was hoping the tournament would work out exactly how it did, and we play 3 games, we get to throw our best arms, and win 3 games and come back home and get to go play in a regional. So knowing how well we were playing at the end of the year, I felt pretty confident going into the tournament. Especially, we were kind of fighting towards the end of the year trying to figure out if we were going to be the 1 or 2 seed, but we knew that we were going to get a bye in the conference tournament. And for us, it was just go out, play ball, and do our thing. If we took care of business on our end, I felt really good about our chances of playing in the NCAA tournament. And obviously for USC Upstate, it's the first time that we've been there. So couldn't be more thrilled to have the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. It's something I've talked about, a lot, even in the past few years when I was an assistant coach here. It's something that we've wanted to do and wanted to get back to. And, for us, man, really fortunate to go have the opportunity to do that this week and get the experience for these guys.
We're joined right now on the Van Upstate by Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. Coach, you mentioned a minute ago in that last answer that you felt like you guys were playing your best baseball in the last month or month and a half or so of the season. What contributed to that? Why do you feel like, or what players on your team stepped up in a manner of which you guys were then able to go play your best baseball?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, we've been really good all year, but we kind of turned it up to another level the last month or two. We found new ways to score and kind of got creative offensively. We're still hitting the long ball. And I think the thing that's allowed us to be successful is we can score in a multitude of ways, so we can apply pressure in a lot of different ways. The biggest changes that we made throughout the year, in my opinion, we had Henry Zener hitting in the middle of our lineup or towards the bottom of our lineup, and we slid him up to the leadoff spot in about the midway point in the year. And I felt like that kind of settled everything offensively for us. Everybody kind of fell into their roles and became really confident. And then on the mound, Ant Phillips started the year as our closer. He finished the year as our Friday guy. He threw a shutout in the conference tournament last week on 103 pitches. So wow. He's a really talented arm, and I think him moving to the rotation kind of solidified our pitching staff a little bit. And then we added Cooper Ellingworth, who was our Friday guy. He actually finished last year in the back end of our bullpen. He is now back in the back end of our bullpen, where I think he's most comfortable, and he's throwing the ball really well right now too. So our pitching staff has kind of found their roles. Our offense has found their roles. And I think just them kind of being confident in the roles that they're in and going out and doing their thing, that's what's allowed us to be successful here down the stretch.
Coach, I was having this conversation yesterday with one of your former players that you coached about a team like USC Upstate having to go into a regional against really good competition, right? Obviously, pitching is the biggest concern for a lot of teams that are coming out of or going into the tournament in a position like USC Upstate is, maybe just not having the pitching depth that a lot of these other teams feel like they have. Is that your biggest concern? I don't know if you would use the word concern or not, but going into this regional, is that kind of where you'd land in terms of the balance of these teams just not having the same pitching?
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit right there. I don't know if it might be me, but
you're good. I was just asking about going into a regional for a team like USC Upstate that may be your size. Is pitching a concern, or do you even use like the word concern when talking about pitching depth that you guys may not have compared to other teams in the regional?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look, I mean, I don't have concerns about it. I probably wouldn't use concerns. I mean, I think we've kind of found our recipe that works with our pitching staff. I feel like we do have viable pieces that can have success against these teams that are in our regional, but to me, it's different every year. I think every team kind of goes through the same things, and it depends on the level that you're at. Does Clemson and West Virginia and Kentucky have probably a deeper talent pool to pull from? Yeah, sure. But, I think for us, we have some highly competitive kids that have gotten outs in a lot of big games. So for me, I feel good about where our pitching staff is at. We've thrown the ball pretty well here in the last month or two, and outside of a couple games here and there that have gotten out of hand, like some of our midweek games have gotten, a little high scoring, but for the most part, our weekend series, we've kept teams off the board and played good defense behind them. So I'm hoping that we can do that again this week and, play a couple competitive games and hopefully surprise some people out there.
We're joined right now by Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. Coach, let's go back to a conversation you brought up a minute ago about the last matchup you guys had against Clemson back in early March at Floor Field here in Greenville. 7-0 Clemson win for the Tigers on that night. With that being so long in the rearview mirror, Coach, do you take anything away from that game, or do you look at it as a clean slate going into this weekend against the Tigers?
I feel like it's a clean slate, but I do think you take kind of bits and pieces from what happened there. For us, it was a highly competitive game for about 8 innings, and we really let it slip away from us in the ninth. I think it was 3-0 going into the ninth inning. So we had it kind of right where we wanted. We didn't get a couple big hits and things like that we are getting right now, and hopefully we'll get this weekend. But we threw some good arms in there. Some guys that were not in our rotation that are now currently in our rotation, and Clemson used some good arms that are now throwing a lot for them as well. So it wasn't like, I think both teams threw pretty good arms in that game. For us, I'm interested to see kind of what they look like now. I know I've watched them play obviously, and to me Clemson's a really disciplined team. They have a good plan. They know who they are. I think they have a good identity, and obviously credit to their coaching staff for that. And we know we're going to have our hands full in front of 7,000 people there at DKS, and it'll be fun. And I think it's a good experience for our guys. Right now, our guys are pretty loose and laid back, and going out there having fun playing ball, and that's what I like about this team. They're not making the moment too big. They're just going to go out and enjoy it and embrace it, and hopefully we can go out and play good baseball.
Coach, your thoughts on the other two teams, obviously in this 4-team regional, when you guys, were shown on TV is going or is having to go to the Clemson Regional. Your team very excited, as you mentioned, very loose. But your big picture outlook, obviously you just talked about Clemson, but the other two teams that you could potentially face as well.
Yeah, so the funny thing is one of our former players is actually playing at West Virginia right now. I was able to coach him for 3 years, and Jace Reinhardt. And really good player. It's gonna be really cool to get an opportunity to see him. But yeah, I know West Virginia's got a good pitching staff. I know offensively they have a couple guys that are really swinging it well right now. They've been kind of up and down here. It seems like the last couple weeks. In Kentucky, we played Kentucky opening weekend last year. And I got a pretty good idea of kind of who they are and what they do and how they play. I know they like to run. I know they play a little bit smaller brand of baseball, but not to say they can't leave the yard, but I think it's one of those things. I think Kentucky is well coached. I think they were when we played them last year. I think they're incredibly disciplined. They have a game plan. They stick to it. I don't know as much about West Virginia. I haven't had an opportunity to see them near as much as I see Kentucky, but I know West Virginia has won a ton of games this year, and there's a lot of credit to them for that. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do to win the amount of games that they've won. So I know it's a tough regional. I know we got a tough task ahead of us with whoever we play, but it should be a lot of fun for our guys.
Coach, when you look at what happened in the Big South tournament, we mentioned that a minute ago, but also when you look ahead to what your team needs to do, talk about that 1-2-3, those 1-2-3 holes for you. I mean, against Charleston Southern, 9 combined hits from your 1-2-3. Do you feel like those guys especially are the heart and soul of this offense, and the rest of the team kind of goes as those 3 go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could say that, but I mean, we've had plenty of scoring opportunities deep down our lineup as well. I mean, we've scored 6, 7, 8, 9. Our 6-hole Preston Lucas, our catcher, has been one of our best hitters in the last month. Scott Newman, our 5-hole, has really started to turn a page. Johnny Sweeney, our 4-hole, had a monster year for us. But 1, 2, 3 definitely helps set the table and definitely are the catalyst of our offense. I think it starts at the top with Henry Zener. He's been a guy that once he moved into that role as our leadoff hitter has really embraced it and kind of set the tone for our entire offense. Van Sheehan, in my opinion, is one of the best shortstops in the entire country, and he hits in our 2-hole. He makes some unbelievable plays defensively as well as gives you quality at bat after quality at bat. And Scott Campbell is kind of the surprise of the year, I think, for us. And ton of credit to him. He wasn't starting in right field the first couple weekends, and it makes me look like a bad coach, the fact that he wasn't playing, looking at the numbers he's got. But no, he stepped into a role and just ran with it and has had a phenomenal season. I couldn't be more proud of the work that he's put in to get where he's at right now. I think he's hitting 400 to finish the year, and a ton of walks, a ton of free bases, doesn't strike out much, probably the Energizer Bunny for our team. We kind of go as he goes. So we definitely have a lot of pieces offensively and a lot of guys I could compliment because they've done tremendous jobs stepping up and playing big roles for us.
Coach, congratulations on the draw in the postseason. We appreciate you taking time to hop on, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. You heard him right here on the Fan Upstate. If you just caught the last bit of that interview and want to go back and listen, you can do so on the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. Also, in a few minutes at thefanupstate.com, you'll be able to see and listen to that interview there. But he's right, man. Going to be a lot of fun this weekend. USC Upstate, they're more battle tested than one would believe. Like, they've been able to go and compete with the big dogs, right? The Power 4 programs out there for the last few years. They're not intimidated by them. Obviously, yeah, they lost to Clemson 7-0 back in March, but you know what? It's a new season, so we'll see. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. West Virginia, Kentucky, Clemson, and USC Upstate. That is the regional. We'll dive back into that in the last few minutes we have here in this segment. If you just tuned into the show, welcome into Wire to Wire. Diesel on vacation this week. I am with you. Cole Bryson with you the rest of the week. Hope you had a happy Memorial Day as well. Want to let you know that you can text the show on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's FANFONE, 844-326-3663. We're also live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 94 Tolos watching the stream. Good to see JD and Madcraft chatting it up, and their other Tolos on the way. I am sure about that. But one other guest coming on in the final hour. Kane Sweeney's not the only baseball coach on the show today. Our job, my job this week on the Fan Upstate is to keep you as prepared as possible concerning what's happening this weekend. Clemson Regional, those 4 teams I just mentioned, guess what? We're not done talking to coaches today. It's 6:40 today. We'll talk to Nick Minchione, the head baseball coach of the Kentucky Wildcats. So another interview coming your way in the 6 o'clock hour. Again, the 4 teams in the Clemson Regional, Kentucky, West Virginia, USC Upstate, and Clemson. Those are the teams. Let's take a look, though, at the rest of the country. Man, if you've looked at the bracket, the right side of this college baseball postseason bracket's absolutely loaded. I mean loaded. In the Nashville Regional, hosted by Vanderbilt, you have Louisville versus ETSU, Vandy, and Wright State. Those are the four teams in the Nashville Regional. In the Austin Regional, hosted by Texas, you have Texas, 40-plus win team, Houston Christian, UTSA, and Kansas State. That's in Austin. Quick note real quick on UTSA. If you're not familiar with UTSA, I get it. Most people in the upstate probably won't be or shouldn't be. How about this stat, though? UTSA, the University of Texas at San Antonio, has earned its first ever at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, making its first appearance since 2013. UTSA set a program record with 44 wins this season. Again, they'll compete in the Austin Regional. Arkansas, the Fayetteville Regional. You have Arkansas, North Dakota State, Kansas, and Creighton, and Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Holy Cross, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. Man, I see the Tar Heels rolling in that one. No offense to Holy Cross and Oklahoma and Nebraska, but you want to talk about a cupcake regional in my mind. In the Baton Rouge Regional, hosted by LSU, you have LSU, Little Rock, DBU, and Rhode Island. Again, I look at that one and say, what a draw for LSU. What a freaking draw for LSU. That's going to be a doozy there in my mind. You never know. You have surprises. You have upsets. It happens. In the Athens Regional, hosted by Georgia, you have Georgia. You have Binghamton, Duke, and Oklahoma State. In the Corvallis Regional, hosted by Oregon State, you have TCU, Southern Cal, Oregon State, and St. Mary's. Tallahassee Regional, hosted by Florida State, you have Florida State, Bethune-Cookman, Northeastern, and Mississippi State. Ole Miss will host the Oxford Regional. You have Georgia Tech, Western Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Murray State. Again, we talked about the Clemson Regional with Clemson, West Virginia, USC Upstate, and Kentucky. And then a few more. In the Eugene Regional, you'll have Oregon, Arizona, Cal Poly, and Utah Valley. How about Conway, South Carolina, hosting a regional this weekend? The Conway Regional, Coastal Carolina, Florida, East Carolina, and Fairfield. So the Gators coming to Conway. How about that, man? That should be a lot of fun. That's going to be a fun regional right there. East Carolina's a good team. I'm not the most familiar with Fairfield. They're a 39-win team, though, so they must be pretty good. But that Conway Regional, man, that's going to be a fun one to keep your eye on. Again, Florida, Coastal, ECU, and Fairfield. Knoxville, two more regionals to go here. Knoxville will host as Tennessee, Miami, Cincinnati, and Wake Forest are the four teams in that one. Again, that's a decent regional there. Like you want to say you're a Clemson fan, you think you get a bad draw. Think about Tennessee. Think about Tennessee, man. They're in that regional with a good Cincinnati team, a good Miami team, and Wake Forest. That's no easy draw there for the number one seed Vols, number one seed in that regional. Last one, UCLA hosting the Los Angeles Regional. You have UCLA, 40-plus win team. Fresno State, UC Irvine, 40-plus win team, 41 wins on the season, and Arizona State. And I lied to you. There's one more. Hattiesburg Regional hosted by Southern Miss. Southern Miss is the one. Alabama's the two. How about Southern Miss, man? 44-14. Southern Miss hosting a regional. That's incredible. Southern Miss, Alabama, Miami, and Columbia. Those are the four teams, and that is the entire field. That is the entire field when it comes to the college baseball postseason this weekend. There it is. That's college baseball, man. The postseason is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited. It's going to be really interesting to see just how these regionals shake up. And then Clemson fans, I started the show by talking about it. Look, Are you in a tough bracket? I don't know if I'd use the word tough. It's tough when you're in the postseason, right? If you're upset at the draw that you got as a Clemson fan, you just need to win the games. You were the number 2 team in the country. You had players saying it was Omaha or bust, so you better win. You better win. JD says, does South Carolina not play in a regional? Oh, wait, we're already in the portal and recruiting. My bad. That's bad, JD. Come on. I know it's tough. Maybe soon, though. He also says ETSU has some bangers on their baseball team for sure. FSU got off easy, as did Oregon State. And Coastal got hosed, JD says, with not having a higher seed, plus ECU in Florida. Yeah, Florida State did get off easy. I think they did. I think they got off pretty easy. Like I said, I think they'll blow through their regional. But you know what, Coastal, I don't know. I do find myself agreeing with you sometimes on that in terms of Coastal getting hosed. JD, like to your point, they did beat Clemson twice. And Clemson got a higher seed than Coastal did. So I understand the frustrations there. But again, Coastal, still a good team, man. But if you're Coastal and you saw that bracket revealed and you saw that Florida was making its way up to your regional, I wouldn't have been real excited. That's tough. It's going to be a tough and ECU is good too. I don't know much about Fairfield, but ECU is really good. So should be interesting. A loaded show coming your way. Tolos, if you just tuned in, we are going to go into why the Atlanta Braves have lost 4 of their last 5, even with their best player, arguably the best player on planet Earth at times, return. Still, the Braves are not good right now. Braves aren't good. We'll get into that. And why they aren't good, what can they do to turn it around? That's next. Well, I guess positive thinking is not the remedy for the results you want if you're an Atlanta Braves fan. Right, Matt Kraft? I don't know if I just wasn't being positive enough over the weekend, but that's where we're going. That's what we're getting into in this very segment. The Atlanta Braves have lost 4 of their last 5. A lot of news surrounding the Braves. Ronald Acuna back. Orlando Arcia gone. At first reassigned, but now gone. The Braves can't win a game. They've, again, lost 4 of their last 5 on a little bit of a cold streak, even with their best player returning, and that's where we're diving into. Welcome into Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Tuesday. Diesel on vacation this week. He'll be back at some point next week, and I want to hear from you Tolos that are Braves fans. You can grieve with me on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Phone number is 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. People tell me all the time, hey, call you. Say that number too fast. Can't ever get it down in time. Save it in your phone. That way you don't have to rely on me saying it a million times during the show. I don't mind doing so, but it's 844-326-3663. Hope you got it down that time. Save it in your phone at the Fan Upstate. Same number for this show and the Rob Brown Show. Every morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on the Fan Upstate. It's the same number to text or call the show. One number does it all. You can listen to the show, obviously, on FM, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, free Odyssey app. You can watch the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 101 of you Tolos are doing so right now. Also, you can do what I do a lot at home. You can say, hey, Alexa, play the Fan Upstate. That's one great and easy way to listen to the show. But the Atlanta Braves right now, they're just not good. No other way to put it, right? Am I wrong? Tell me if you think I am. The Braves are not playing their best baseball right now. I do want to start, however, with what happened with Ronald Acuna Jr. in his triumphant return. Again, nearly a year sidelined due to a torn ACL in 2023. The comeback was unbelievable. Despite the Braves being bad right now, Tolos, if you're a Braves fan, despite the Braves being not the best right now, the return for Ronald Acuna Jr. was just sensational. I was at the Hub City Spartanburgers game on Friday night, and I was keeping up with the game on the ESPN app. But the conversation where I was sitting quickly turned and broke out into, did you see what Acuna just did? And I didn't at the time. Like I said, I wasn't watching. I didn't have the ESPN app open at the time. But a Ronald Acuna Jr. in his first pitch back, what does he do? He takes it yard. You want to hear what that sounded like? I might can pull that up for you. We'll have audio blitz, by the way, coming your way a little bit later in the show with a lot of audio from the sports weekend. But seeing him do that, not overreacting, because we'll do that at 5 o'clock. An overreaction Monday on a Tuesday coming your way. But seeing what Ronald Acuna did just sent goosebumps down your entire body. It got Braves fans excited. We talked about it on the show Friday. How exciting it was that Acuna was coming back. And for the first freaking pitch Ronald Acuna sees to be this.
Since May 26th of last season. Look at this! Are you kidding me? He is back!
I mean, listen to that crowd. Listen to the pop. One more time. Listen to the pop.
Last season. Look at this. Are you kidding me? He is back.
I mean, you talk about top moments of your lifetime. If somehow, some way you were in attendance on Friday night in Atlanta, that's got to be up there, man. The pop, not only from the bat, but from the crowd. The crowd pop. Man, that was truly sensational. Ronald Acuna Jr. being back is just awesome. However, the Braves right now, they're not awesome. They're not awesome. They've lost 4 of their last 5, like I said. And what happened, and Braves fans, again, want to hear from you, especially when it comes to this one play. Phone lines are open as well, by the way, at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. What happened with Eli White? Oh, my word. I mean, is that not the most Atlanta Braves thing you have ever seen in your entire life? What in the world was Eli White doing? Look, I get things happen. Things happen, right? But come on. The Braves, they won 1 game over the weekend against the Padres. That 1 win, all they were able to get. Again, they've lost now 4 of their last 5. They're not playing their best baseball collectively. And then Eli White, I don't know what in the world happened. Obviously, it was an error. I don't know if it was between him and the third base coach, or he just thought the ball was caught. But here's what that sounded like.
Albies to center field. It's in for a base hit. White will be stopped at third. The throw comes in. It's
what is he doing?
He's going back to second for some reason.
He thought he caught it.
By the way, how about the circus music behind it? Because that's what that is. Eli White on Friday thought Jackson Merrill caught the ball. He was almost at third base. He runs back to second, and again, that's what that sounded like.
Albies to center field. It's in for a base hit. White will be stopped at third. The throw comes in. It's
what is he doing?
He's going back to second for some reason.
He thought he caught it.
Wow.
He thought he caught that ball in center. He didn't want to get doubled up. What a break.
He was headed to third, and they were going to stop him at third base. But he goes back to second, and he's thrown out.
Thrown out at second. Bottom of the 9th. The Braves' hopes dwindled. And again, when you look at what's happening, they're getting key pieces back. Strider's on the mound tonight. There's positive signs there, right? But ultimately, this Braves team, they lost 2 of 3 to the Padres Friday night, 2-1. They lost 7-1, or excuse me, they won 7-1 on Saturday, and then lost again yesterday, 3-5. 3-5, not good outing yesterday by the Atlanta Braves. Look, it's the Padres. It's a good team. You played them earlier in the season. However, you would have liked to see the Braves get 2 there, especially with getting Acuna back. Sunday, not a ton of help from the rest of the lineup. Obviously, Acuna had a 1 hit. Ozuna had 2. Albies had a couple. Austin Riley had a hit. But outside of that, Drake Baldwin was 0 for 4. Matt Olson 0 for 4. Michael Harris 0 for 3. And I know you don't expect Nick Allen to produce in the bottom of the lineup. But man, I don't know. What's wrong with Matt Olson? He's playing like he's playing better, right? He's not as bad as he was. Let's see what his average is now. But if you're a Braves fan, there's kind of some serious concern there, right? With Matt Olson. This season, 193 at-bats for Matt Olson. Where we at average-wise? 238 currently on the season. OBP of 341. Slugging percentage 472. He has 46 hits on the season, which is low compared to where he normally is. 30 runs. And again, a batting average of 238. 29 RBIs. And that 4-hole, man, Matt Olson's got to produce. Matt Olson's got to produce a little bit more. And then Drake Baldwin, he had flashes. He had pops. But he was 0 on Sunday. His batting average is really, really good. That was the first time that he's kind of slumped like that. I mean, he's hitting 340 for crying out loud. So Baldwin's had 1 bad game. Okay, that's acceptable. But Matt Olson, man, I believe there's a little worry there. there's a little worry there, I believe, with Matt Olson. He's just not the same guy he was 2 years ago. You saw glimpses of that last year. Ozuna still hitting close to 278. Austin Riley now at 272. How many players do the Braves have above 500? Above 300, I meant to say. One player, I believe. Okay, Acuna's 2, but Acuna has 10 at-bats, 12 at-bats. One player above 300, and that is Drake Baldwin with a 340 batting average and 97 at-bats. Again, Ronald Acuna, he just got back, 3 games, 12 at-bats, 4 hits. He's smashing. He's doing his job, right? Hitting .333, doing exactly what Acuna does best. But Michael Harris, man, needs to step up. Matt Olson needs to step up. Michael Harris still leads the team with 31 RBIs. But it's interesting when you look at this Braves team right now. There's positives. There really are positives. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but it's just like for whatever reason, when one guy hits well, the other one that you expect to be decent just goes like cold. It's baseball. It happens, right? But we'll see. The Braves are now 8.5 back. JD on the YouTube stream says, Olson needs to get a contract, coach, because he either hits a mile or not at all. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Is Matt Olson in Dan Uggla territory yet or no? I'm sorry. That was rude toward Matt Olson. He says contact, not contract. I'm sorry, I read that wrong, JD. His original comment said Olson needs to get a contact coach. Contact, not contract, contact coach, because he either hits the mile or not at all. He says a lot of folks, when comparing Baldwin and Murphy, don't take into consideration the pitcher's ERA, which is better when Murphy catches over Baldwin. And he says he's creeping into Uggla territory. I was just joking about that. Let's not go there. That's you talk about strikeout or home run. That's what Dan Uggla was, right? Greenville Gamecock on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Good to hear from you, man. He says, easy. Eli White is my preacher's son. Look, I hate it. That was a terrible, terrible play by Eli White. No disrespect to him at all, Greenville Gamecock, but boy, that was rough. That was rough what happened running back to second. Again, Greenville guy, right, from the upstate. We all know what he did in college. Eli White, really good college. And Eli White's played really well for the Braves. He's played really well this season to start. So you don't put much blame. Let's see what he is. See what Eli White's hitting. He's hitting 274. So not bad. 274, only 117 at bats. Not as many at bats as the stars in the lineup. 32 hits. Pretty good average. 13 RBIs for Eli White, the local kid. No, look, I'm not just dissing on him, but that was rough. That was embarrassing what happened on Friday, man. If you're a Braves fan, you watched that and you thought, how many times in your life watching baseball do you see that happen? That just doesn't happen much. That just does not happen much. And for that to happen to the Braves, it's like, of course that happens. So the Braves are now, 25-27? Did I say that right? Let me double check. Yes, 25-27. Third place in the East. 8.5 games back behind the Phillies. They were 5, man. Just a few days ago, they were 5 games back. So now they dropped to 8.5 games back. They had the Phillies starting today. The Mets only a game and a half behind the Philadelphia Phillies in the NL East. So I don't know. I would love to hear from you Braves fans as to where your thoughts are at this point in the season, about to enter the month of June, where your head is. Madcraft, nowhere to be found on the stream right now. The Braves go back to stinking, and Madcraft goes MIA. Funny, right? Imagine that. But look, the Braves, we all know it's a long season. But you talk about 8.5 games. You talk about being back. 8.5 games back. It's interesting. I do believe the Braves will be able to compete with the Phillies this weekend, and then they have the Red Sox again, I believe, next weekend, or this coming weekend, rather. But the Phillies tonight, 6:45, you have Spencer Strider on the mound tonight for the Atlanta Braves. So we'll see. They've just been too inconsistent, man. They've been too inconsistent for me, especially on the road. They haven't been good on the road. Hadn't been good on the road at all. Infield, interesting, right? Orlando Arcia basically being put down on assignment and then released. And then how bad do you feel for Orlando Arcia? If you're a Braves fan and you hadn't seen what happened, Orlando Arcia released by the Braves and is signed by the Colorado Rockies, the worst team in the history of baseball. History of baseball. How bad is that? Nick Allen, obviously at shortstop. Strong defense. I like what he does defensively, but I don't know. I don't know about his offensive production. I don't know. And Strider's got to get back going too, right? His first game back last week had some struggles, early runs. But I'll tell you this, man. I know baseball is a long season, and people say, oh, well, things can change. But I'll tell you this. This series starting tonight against Philadelphia is huge. It's a crucial series. Really is. When you look at being 8.5 games back in the division, you've got Acuna back, potential improvements in the pitching staff. If you want to get momentum, you want to contend for a playoff spot, man, I would advise to start tonight. A really good Philadelphia team. But this could be big, man. If the Braves, if they do turn it around, they could look back to May 27th as a turning point. As a turning point. Of saying, look, we turned it around in May, man. We, into May, took 2 of 3 from Philadelphia, took 2 of 3 from Boston. Boy, you got to say it like that, Boston. JD says, the Phillies may sweep the Braves and put us out of our misery. That wouldn't be good. He also says there's been some bad mistakes base running, which all involve the third base coach. That's got to change. Yeah, you miss old Wash over there, don't you? He says, JD says, if the Phillies sweep, that puts us 11.5 back, which could be awful. Is that right? Yeah, you're right. 8.5 now. If you go 11.5 back to enter the month of June, it would be awful. You're right. It would be. It'd be tough. It'd be a tough hole to climb out of. Could you do it? Sure, you could do it, but it'd be a tough hole to climb out of if they swept. Let's not do that, though. Let's not do that, JD. He also says, if I wanted to ride a roller coaster, I'd go to Carowinds, not the Braves roller coaster. It's been this way for the last couple of years, though. Last year was a roller coaster. This year, a little bit of a roller coaster as well. I don't know, though. I'm a little optimistic. I think the Braves might be able to compete with the Phillies tonight. Strider, how about Strider comes back tonight and just shows who he was a couple of years ago? Shows who he once was. That could be fun. Get a win tonight. Get a little early momentum in the series. Maybe take 2 of 3 from Philadelphia, and all of a sudden having a different conversation, right? 105 Tolos watching the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I don't know if the weather's gotten any better in your area. It's pretty miserable looking outside of our studios right here in Greenville. It poured on the way here from Spartanburg, and I mean poured. Just sucky weather right now. Almost June. Can you remember a May that's been as cool as this month has been? I don't know. It doesn't feel like summer, does it? Feels like late February or early March. Maybe we'll get some heat soon, though. Some sunny days, some 80s, 90s. I'm ready for some heat. Bring it on, man. The NBA playoffs are going strong. If you are an NBA fan, we're going to dive into the NBA playoffs. Thunder, Timberwolves last night. Pacers, Knicks tonight. Let's talk NBA. That's next. we're back on the stream now as well, where I had forgotten to take the banner down. What stream, you say? We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can watch the show on those 3 platforms. 104 Tolos doing that at this very moment. You can chat it up in the stream chat as well at The Fan Upstate. I'm on Twitter as well at The Cole Bryson. If you haven't done so, give me a follow there. I'll give you a follow back at The Cole Bryson on Twitter, on X. I did get an update from the Spartanburgers. The tarp has been taken off the field over in Spartanburg. Maybe the rain has died down. The gates open at 5:35 in the Berg. 6:35 first pitch in Spartanburg. So if you're planning on brightening up your dreadful Tuesday. I don't mean dreadful as in having a bad Tuesday, but just dreadful weather. This somber Tuesday after Memorial Day. How about checking out the Spartanburgers tonight in action? I went Friday, man. It was so much fun. The weather was perfect on Friday. The atmosphere was great. They won a million walk-offs last week. So good to see so many people at the Spartanburgers game. I saw a few Tolos as well, people who listen to the show. If you don't know what Tolo means, stands for turn on, leave on. That's what we ask you to do right here each and every day on the Fan Upstate. So just a little weather update for you regarding the Burgers. But let's dive into the NBA playoffs, what's happening right now at this very moment. If you're an NBA fan, phone lines are open at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Let's start with what happened last night, Monday night. Thunder, Timberwolves, Western Conference Finals. The Thunder outlast the T-Wolves. I mean, a close one, a really close one, a really good game last night, 128-126. Oklahoma City now leads the series 3-1. And I'll tell you what, man, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night, 40 points. Jalen Williams filling it up, 34 points. The Thunder did have a unique strategy, fouling up 3, right? We've talked about that before on the show as well. Another team did that not long ago in these same NBA playoffs. But, this is a series that Diesel and I talked about when it first started, where my heart wanted Minnesota to win, but my mind said you better go with Oklahoma City, who's now won a million games this year, 49 games, one win away from being a 50-win team, which doesn't happen. 68 wins. I was looking at Minnesota. Oklahoma City, a 68-win team. My apologies. 2 wins away from being a 70-win team. You talk about impressive. So, again, my heart wanted Minnesota. My mind told me to go Oklahoma City. And right now, here's where we are. You have a series where the Oklahoma City Thunder lead 3-1. I talked about the 2 playmakers last night. It's interesting. Julius Randle, in my mind, is the guy you start with in last night's game that was just a complete no-show. I love Julius Randle, man. But he was a no-show last night. In 28 minutes played, he was 1 of 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from three-point land. He had 5 points. Julius Randle, he was on the pregame set last night before the Timberwolves and Thunder tipped off. And they were talking to Stephen A. and Kendrick Perkins, and those guys were talking to Julius Randle about how big he needed to be in last night's game in order for Minnesota to win, right? In order for him to get the win. Anthony Edwards last night wasn't great either. I think he had 2 points at the half. Going into the halftime break, you talk about Anthony Edwards, one of the best players on the planet, having 2 points. Not a recipe for success whatsoever. So your final box last night, Ant-Man had 16. Mike Conley had 6. Rudy Gobert had 13. Jaden McDaniels, a really good night for him. He had 22. But Julius Randle, I'm looking at you last night. 5 points of 0 for 3, 1 for 7 from the floor, and 28 minutes played. That's unacceptable. Julius Randle, man, he should bear a lot of the blame today. DiVincenzo was good for Minnesota last night off the bench. 21. Alexander Walker off the bench, 23. The bench wasn't the problem last night. Nas Reed, 11 points off the bench. Shannon Jr., 9. The bench was really, really good, but if you're Minnesota and you're in the Western Conference Finals, your bench can't be out here outscoring your starters. Sometimes it's as simple as that, and that's what happened last night. The bench accounted for 23, 21, 11, and 9. I mean, think about that. 23, 21, 11, and 9. So, quick math, 64 bench points last night. And you only scored 126 points. I say 120. I say only 120. 64 points. That leaves 62 points from your starters. So your bench did outscore your starters last night. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Julius Randle was not good. Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, they weren't good. The Stars weren't good last night for for Minnesota. And I don't know, man. Anthony Edwards just wasn't aggressive, especially in the first half. Like I said, going into halftime break, he had 2 points. He's got to be more aggressive early. I think he's the tone setter. I really do. He's like the guy that sets the tone for that team. And when you go into the halftime break and he only has 2 points in the Western Conference Finals, he didn't set the tone early. Oklahoma City set the tone early. Now, look, credit to Minnesota and their bench. They put together a comeback late in the game and, like I said, had a shot. But Oklahoma City just too much for him. Jalen Williams, 34 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right now the best player on planet Earth, 40 points. Chet Holmgren, 21 points last night. Alex Caruso, 10 points off the bench. I'm telling you, man, this team's deadly. This Oklahoma City team, they look unbeatable. And I know Indiana's good. I know the Knicks are good, but Oklahoma City just looks unbeatable. They're so formidable. You know, it's been what, since Kevin Durant and James Harden and Russell Westbrook, since Oklahoma City was a real threat. And now they've won 68 games, 68-14. They don't lose at home. It just doesn't happen. And now they're up 3-1. I really do. I think they're going to close this thing out. I think they're going to close it out tomorrow and on their home floor tomorrow night. I don't see this series going much more. I really don't. I would like for it to. I really would. I love Anthony Edwards. I want him to be really, really good. But I think the Thunder close this thing out on their home floor tomorrow night and get their 69th win of the season. That'd be incredible. All right, let's flip over to the Eastern Conference. The finals happening there as well. The Pacers lead the series 2-1 tonight. Knicks-Pacers game 4. Indiana, by the way, favored by 2.5 points tonight. Game 3 comeback. How about that? Did you watch Game 3? The Knicks overcame a 20-point deficit in Game 3. I mean, Indiana had this thing won. They were up 3-0. 20-point lead, and what did the New York Knicks do? They come back to win 106-100. Karl Anthony Towns just went ballistic in the fourth quarter. 106-100. Cat, incredible performance. Incredible job. But Miles Bridges, man, for New York, he was really good as well. He was really good. We talk a lot about Karl Anthony Towns, but Miles Bridges is really, really good. Anunoby, 16 on Sunday night. Karl Anthony Towns, a total of 24 points. Jalen Brunson, 23 points. And then their bench, solid contributions off the bench. Indiana, I still think Indiana wins the series. However, I'll tell you what, man, if somehow, some way New York wins tonight, you look back at Sunday's game and think, oh, boy, you had that thing won. You were up, 20 points? You had that thing won. And you let them come back. Tyrese Halliburton was good. He had 20. He wasn't great. He didn't shoot the ball a ton. 37 minutes played. He was 7 of 15. He wasn't good from behind the three-point line, 2 of 8 on Sunday. But I'll tell you what, man, this is the one that could get interesting. This is the game that really could get interesting tonight if somehow, some way New York mounts the comeback and evens this thing up. You'll look back to Sunday and think, man, they blew it. They had a chance to be up 3. Indiana had a chance to be up 3-0. I mean, come on. And then Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I want to go back to him in the Western Conference. How about this? Playoffs, he's averaging 29.5 points per game, 6.6 assists per game, 5.4 rebounds per game. If you look at advanced metrics, he leads all remaining players in win shares, 2.5, and has 7 30-point games in the 2025 playoff. Think about that. SGA has 7 30-point games in the 2025 playoffs. That's just, come on. Come on. That just doesn't happen. Anthony Edwards has been good as well, but he hadn't been that good. I mean, he had 43 the other night, right? 43 is really, really good, but consistently SGA, man. And Jalen Brunson's been really good, man. He leads the playoffs with 448 total points. NBA Clutch Player of the Year. Tyrese Halliburton's a close second in my mind to what SGA's done. He leads all players with 122 assists in the playoffs, including a 31-point, 11 assists, and 8 rebound performance in Game 2. So he's been sensational. Take nothing away from Tyrese Halliburton. I love that guy. He's a good player. But I do think SGA is just a little bit better. I do. I think SGA is a little bit better than Tyrese Halliburton. As good as they're both really, really talented. But, man, I just think he's a little bit better. I really do. Let's see on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line where you can text the show at 844-FAN-PHONE. Buckeye Brian texts the show. What's up, Buckeye Brian? Good to hear from you. He says it's hard for Ant to be aggressive when he was double-teamed the entire night. But, yes, the rest of the team needs to step up. You're talking about last night. Yeah, look, he's going to get double-teamed, Buckeye Brian. There's no doubt about that. He is Anthony Edwards. You'd be stupid not to double-team him. But I just think Buckeye Brian, from watching that last night, I think he's the tone setter, man. Like, I think that team goes as he goes. And when he doesn't start fast and early, I think it hurts him. I really do. And luckily last night, their bench went off. If their bench doesn't go off last night, Buckeye Brian, that game's not close last night. I love Anthony Edwards. I really do. I just think ultimately he has to be more aggressive early in games. I think he's got to be early aggressiveness, man. I think that's what you look for. He's capable of taking over. He really is. But, man, when you talk about winning these type of games, he's got to be aggressive early. He really does. All right, phone lines. That's what we're going to go to right now and grab a call. I am solo, so you'll hear my favorite movie ever while I grab this. Wire to Wire, what's your name? All right, Big Kev. Kevin wants to weigh in on the phone lines, talk a little NBA playoffs. Kev, what's up, man? How are you?
Oh, man, chilling on a rainy day, man. Hey, man, first I got a little bone to pick with everybody, right?
Okay.
So they say, like, everybody, oh, man, it's gloomy, it's cold. I don't want to think, I don't like. But everybody was turning the grill on when the power went off in the cold weather, so what's the difference? Get outside, man. Go out there. Enjoy all the time now, cause all next week and after that, when that sun stay up, when it's 99 at 9 o'clock in the morning, then it's hot. I can't wait for the winter time to get. Hey, man, live with it, man.
I don't know,
Come on, man.
Give me the heat, Kev. I'll take it. Compared to today, like I wore a freaking hoodie to work today. And here we are at the end of May, almost June. Now, I'll take you're right, though. I mean, that's the way it works. People are going to complain regardless. But I'm
going to complain, man. Just get out there in it and have fun in it, man. You woke up tomorrow, get on out there.
Hey, what about these NBA playoffs, man? I just talked about the two games remaining, or the two teams. Let me back up. I'm stumbling over my words. I talked about the two series that we have remaining. Big Kev, I know you're an NBA guy.
Hey, man, I'm glad I'm getting good basketball, man. But like something like Cat still, I don't know. When like I heard Charles Barkley say, if Cat is going downhill, you really can't stop this guy. well, how about go downhill every play?
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Go 20 in the first, go 10 in the second. Like, take all the heat off Brunson for a little bit, and then let him forget about Brunson, and let Brunson do his thing in the fourth quarter and close it out. But you hold this thing down for 3 whole quarters and let Brunson finish it out. But I don't know what he gonna. You don't know what he gonna do.
Well, he had what 20? He had what 20 in the fourth quarter the other night.
Yeah, 20 and 7 in the fourth quarter because it was some kind of holiday over from where he's from or whatever was going on. Okay, I like that holiday is going on every night.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like that should be his attitude the rest of the playoffs. Have that same attitude you had in the fourth quarter every game from here on out.
Hey, is that series over in your mind, the Eastern Conference? Because I said a minute ago, Indiana, man, they were up 20. If they lose tonight, boy, they could be in trouble, right?
So it's 2-2 now, right?
No, it's 2-1 now.
2-1?
2-1.
Yeah, Knicks, it's still a must-win for the Knicks tonight.
I agree with you.
If they win this thing tied up, now we start over for what, 3 games?
Yeah.
The best of 3? So, yeah, they need to go ahead and win this night. Don't let them boys get an upper hand because now they got the upper hand. They can pounce on it.
Yeah.
But go ahead and tie this thing up night. Now you're going to see who the real ball is. Now, over in the West, with Minnesota and them boys, I didn't know SGA was like he was. You don't get to watch him till like late if you stand up late all the time anyway. So, but to watch him now and watch that team, man, I tell you what, if they add a good vet, man, that's like add KD, bring KD back to OKC.
Oh my gosh!
If you don't have to get rid of a lot for it, like if you don't have to get rid of a lot and keep that same what they got together, and just bring KD in, and you don't even have to start it. Just let him come in and like I would love to be the 6th man, and I still got energy.
I'll tell you what,
like,
man.
They don't need my 30.
I don't know that. Hey, I'll tell you this, Kev. I don't know that they need KD.
They might, yeah, man. Listen,
SGA's the best player on the planet right now, isn't he?
He is.
God.
He is. But if they don't get to the tip, I still feel like I feel like every team should have that one vet that can that's one tip, and you keep him on the team.
What was that old guy they used to have, Kev? That old guy they used to have, that big old tall guy with the long hair they used to have, Oklahoma City. He was a vet. Adams, remember him?
Oh, Steven Adams.
Yeah, man.
Steven Adams.
Something like that.
So bring somebody back like that that can get down and dirty in the playoffs and know what it means to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to keep working on that, man. And I need to get down there and see the Spartanburgers too. So when you decide to go,
you know what? How about this? Next time I go, me and you, let's go. You want to go?
I got to go.
Let's go this week.
Because I got to see a baseball game firsthand, up close.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And since they call it hamburgers, they better have some great burgers down there. I'm gonna lose my mind.
They do. It's good burgers, man. Hey, Kev, thanks for the call, man.
All right, man.
Kev, always appreciate. He's one of the best callers we have. Really is. He's awesome. Big Kev. You can call the show as well at 844-326-3663. Our whip around of what's happening. Daily Wires next. Time to get into what's happening in the sports world. We call on the Daily Wires on this show. It's the buzz of what's going on all over the sports world. It is a busy Tuesday with the long holiday that we just had. Hope you all had a happy Memorial Day. Diesel on vacation, so he will not be here with me this week. He'll be back next week, and we'll get this thing rolling with he and I. But in the meantime, I'm holding it down. Hope you Tolos are having a fantastic Tuesday evening, almost 5 o'clock, almost time to clock out. Shout out to Ashley Chastain Woodard and John Rittman, both 40-plus win seasons at South Carolina and Clemson in softball. The Tigers fell over the weekend to the Longhorns. South Carolina fell to UCLA. The Knicks are in Indiana tonight for Game 4 against the Pacers. Tip at 8 p.m. Indiana, a 2.5-point favorite at home. The Braves also back in action tonight. Philadelphia. Spencer Strider, the Clemson Tiger, on the mound versus Ranger Suarez. First pitch, 6:45 tonight in Philadelphia. North Carolina defeated Clemson on Sunday in baseball in the ACC championship by a score of 14-4. USC Upstate, we talked to Kane Sweeney, their head coach, earlier in the show. A big win as they won the Big South, defeating Charleston Southern 14-2 over the weekend. They also defeated Winthrop and High Point. Let's see. Burns High School softball lost Game 1 of the state championship game over the weekend to Summerville and will host Game 2 on Wednesday at Burns High School. Last night in the NBA, the Timberwolves fell to the Thunder by a score of 128-126. OKC leads the series now 3-1. In baseball, Hub City, the Spartan Burgers took 4 of 6 from Rome last week and are now 24-21 on the season. The Burgers will host Winston-Salem beginning tonight at 6:35. Gates open at 5:35 in the Burg tonight. Game still being played as of right now, even with the weather. The Raiders and all-time pro punter A.J. Cole have agreed to a 4-year, $15.8 million contract, making Cole the highest-paid punter in the NFL. How about old Tyrese Halliburton? His dad now allowed back in the arena to attend the suites, or to attend the games, rather. He can be in the suites. He has not attended a game since the altercation with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Hurricanes defeated the Panthers 3-0 last night to break their 15-game losing streak in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Stars and Oilers will go at it tonight in Game 4. Edmonton leads the Dallas Stars 2-1. Ross Chastain won the Coca-Cola 600 on Sunday in Charlotte in front of a sold-out crowd. Congrats to Ross Chastain. It was his first win of the season. How about this? He was the first driver since Bobby Allison in 1969 to go from last to first and win the race. That's incredible. Alex Palou won the 2025 Indy 500, making history as the first Spanish driver to claim victory in that iconic race. And over the weekend in Texas, Ben Griffin, the North Carolina alum, won the 2025 Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth. He got $1.71 million from the win. One last Daily Wire for you. Caitlin Clark suffered a left quad strain and will be out for 2 weeks. Before the injury, Clark was averaging 19 points, 9.2 assists, and 6 rebounds per game. Those are your Daily Wires. Tolos coming up next. Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. We didn't have the show yesterday for you, so we'll overreact. Phone lines are open. That's next. is no Monday show, there is no Overreaction Monday, except when there's a Tuesday and there's an Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. So good to be with you on this Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. I'm Cole Bryson, Diesel on vacation. He'll be back next week, riding solo with you. I have 3 overreactions that I want to share with you, Tolos, regarding the sports weekend. I want to hear your overreactions as well. They don't have to be sports related. They can be. Mine are, but yours don't have to be. Also, good to see 123 of you on the stream where you can watch the show live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I see JD. I see Madcraft. I see so many Tolos in the stream right now, 123 total through the 3 platforms. You can continue to comment on the stream. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at The Fan Upstate. I will go to the phone lines first because the phone lines do take precedent. If you have an overreaction, you can get it in right now. Again, the phone lines are open, 844-326-3663, and then I'll give mine. Let's start with JD, who's first. What's your overreaction on an Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday, JD?
Can I have more than one?
What's your name?
Cole, you got me?
Yeah, you can have more than one. Sorry, I was getting the phones. Listen, I'm solo today. You can have as many overreactions as your heart pleases on this Tuesday.
Okay, well, let's start with the weather. Which one of you degenerates got so drunk last night that y'all messed up the weather? My goodness. Is Memorial Day not supposed to be like the kickoff for summer?
Yeah.
And y'all got me out here freezing to death wearing shorts and a T-shirt. It's never even crossed 60 degrees where I'm at. So which one of you degenerate Tolos or Nissan Armadas, whatever y'all call yourself, which one of y'all got so drunk y'all messed up the weather? That's what I want to know. Number one.
I didn't know. Number one, I didn't know that's how you messed up weather was for people to get drunk. I didn't know. Look, whoever takes blame, I'm with you. It's Kev said earlier, he called in and said, "Would y'all quit complaining about the weather? Because when it's hot, y'all are gonna complain that it's too hot." He might be right. Number one, but number two, I'm ready for the heat, man. You're right. Yesterday, Memorial Day was just cloudy, rainy, and then today you wake up and you have to put on extra clothes. Like it wasn't cold, but it was too cold for May the 27th today. I'm with you on that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that's why it's an overreaction, because we didn't know that we could mess up the weather that way by somebody celebrating too hard this weekend.
Was that Madcraft?
So second one. Yeah, Matt, it was definitely Madcraft. Definitely Madcraft. Second overreaction, and I might get a little pushback from you on this one. You know how a lot of people compare Caitlin Clark to Steph Curry as far as her skill set goes?
Uh-huh.
I am going to compare her to LeBron James by the way she acts on the court when she doesn't get a call. I watched her play the other day and literally screaming in the ref's face, throwing her arms everywhere, flailing all over the place. And I was like, my goodness. I was like, she's acting like LeBron. Is that a bad comparison, though, to compare her to LeBron and how he acts getting calls and how she acts?
I don't think it's a bad comparison, but I will tell you, I think it's cheap because everybody does that. Like, it's not just LeBron. Have you watched Luka Doncic play basketball ever? I mean, watch the NBA tonight and see how many times a player will put their hands up and do the little twister motion asking for a review. You can call it LeBron, but turn on the TV tonight. It's everybody wants the foul called. So, I'll push back a little bit on it.
Right. And I think maybe it's because the camera's on her a lot of the time. But to me, for her greatness, for the hype she gets and all that stuff, is this really what we want to teach the kids who are watching her play basketball?
Well, that's it. That's the problem, though. This is not just a Caitlin Clark issue. This is a entire society issue. Like, it happens.
Right.
You have kids. It happens. In little league. It happens middle school. It happens high school. If you don't get a call, you're fussing and complaining to the referee. It is a society problem. That's what it is.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, at some point somebody's got to be like, no, this is not the way I'm going to act, and I'm going to do something to be better. Like, I complain about the call, but let's just do it in a different manner. Let's not, act crazy like we're going to go attack the ref and jump in their face and screaming and hollering and all that kind of stuff. And then, so my other reaction, and this is for our Clemson and Carolina people out there, I would like to say thank you to Clemson softball for losing their game 3 on Saturday, because it made it so much easier for me to deal with the Gamecocks loss on Sunday.
Oh my gosh. You're pathetic.
Well, Cole, you just mentioned it a minute ago with the Pacers. They were looking to be up 3-0.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gamecocks were 3 outs away.
I know. It's tough.
What in the world was that defensive alignment on that triple from the left-handed batter? Yeah. You had the right fielder playing close to the line like she's a pull hitter, and you had the center fielder and the left fielder playing like she's going to hit it opposite direction. Like, that defensive alignment cost the Gamecocks a chance at the Women's College World Series.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It was tough. It's a tough loss. There's no doubt. UCLA's a good team, but it was a tough loss. JD, thanks for the call, man.
Right. Yeah, man. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday continues. Going right back to Rick on the phone lines. But first, Andrew on the YouTube stream says, go Pacers. And then I've got to shout out Stephen Webb. How about this one, man? This is probably the best comment of the day. Stephen Webb, who's a Tolo, he also listens to the robbery. He's also an Armanist, elitist, continuist, or whatever it is. Stephen says on Facebook, what's up, Cole? 11 p.m. here in Darmstadt, Germany, and listening. Stephen, that's freaking awesome. That's awesome. That's all. I do remember you telling us that you were going over there overseas. So hope you've had a safe trip. Hope you have a safe trip back whenever you come back. Appreciate you listening, watching the show live in Germany. I won't say anything to piss the Germans off. Okay? How about that, Stephen? I want to do that. Not at 11 o'clock at night. So Stephen Webb, the Tolo of the day, listening, watching the show live in Germany. That is cool. That is really, really cool. Appreciate all of you Tolos who turn it on and leave it on. I'll go right back to the phone lines. I'll save my 3 overreactions for just a minute. Let's go to Rick and Greer. What's up, Rick?
What's going on, Cole? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to be at Ingles tomorrow?
The workers will be, and the shoppers will be. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm talking about you or your boss man, Diesel.
Well, Diesel is not my boss man, but Diesel will not be at Diesel's your boss man. Actually, Diesel and I won't be at Ingles tomorrow. We're every other Wednesday, and we were there last week. Diesel's on vacation this week, by the way.
I didn't know that. I hadn't been listening.
I know.
I picked it up.
I know. Next Wednesday we'll be back at Ingles on Asheville Highway in Spartanburg. Yeah.
Number 2, Madcraft. The Braves do suck, and I'm doing. Thanks.
Gosh, that's the best. Rick, you're the best. Did you mic drop, or are you still there?
They suck, and I'm doing. Thanks.
Rick, you still there? I think Rick's done. I think Rick left. I think he mic dropped us and then turned the radio back on. Rick, you're right. The Braves right now, they do suck. It's funny, man. It's funny. The Braves suck, and all of a sudden they're back to sucking again. And Madcraft is MIA. Like, you can't find the guy. I mean, I've looked on milk cartons all over the studio. I've, sent in an AP. I can't find him. I mean, I don't know where. I would love to hear from Madcraft today if he is still out there on the phone lines in this Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday segment, because you're right, Rick. Right now they do suck. And they sucked at the beginning of the season. A couple of weeks ago, they didn't suck. Hopefully, in a few days, they won't suck again. Hopefully, they'll get better. They'll start playing better baseball. But right now, they're back to sucking. There he is on the stream. Madcraft's back. He said, I still don't know how we suck, but y'all. Madcraft, love to hear from you. I'm solo today, as you know. Diesel's on vacay, so you call in. You get a little extended time today since I'm solo. If you want to talk about the Braves and argue, as I assume we'll do, maybe we won't argue. Maybe we won't. Maybe I'll be understanding today if you do call in. Maybe I'll surprise you. But until then, the phone line's open. Hub City Spartanburgers text line also open. What is your overreaction Monday on a Tuesday? I'm Cole Bryson. Good to be with you on this Tuesday. If you just tuned into the show, it's overreaction time. Phone lines are open at 844-326-3663. I'll give you one of my three, and then we'll get back to the phone lines. Rory McIlroy. Boy, is he disappointing me right now. Boy, is he disappointing me. I've pulled for Rory McIlroy. I like Rory. I was just so ecstatic when Rory won the Masters. I was pulling for him all weekend, and I've been a fan of Rory's, man. I really have. But I'm here to tell you on this Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday that Rory McIlroy is losing me as a fan. He is losing me as a fan today on the 27th of May. I'm finding myself slipping away from the fandom. Rory McIlroy wins the Masters. He doesn't play in any tournaments until the PGA Championship. He sits those tournaments out. Plays in the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, where he's normally really, really good. And he was terrible in the PGA Championship. Absolutely terrible, compared to what he normally is. And what does he do now? Well, he doesn't perform last week at the Charles Schwab that Scotty Scheffler did play in. He has now announced that he is not playing in the Memorial this weekend. And if you don't know, the freaking Memorial in Ohio was started by only Jack Nicklaus. And it's not a major, but it's a big tournament. It's in Dublin, Ohio. And when the field was set, guess who was absent? Rory McIlroy. I don't know. It's not a surprise for a player to skip one event or one signature event, but he's already missed two. The Century to start the year and the RBC Heritage he missed. Scotty Scheffler, look, he takes time off. I'm not saying you can't take time off if you're a golfer, but I'll tell you this, man. I thought Rory McIlroy was going to, now that he had won the Masters, I thought he was going to come out, play, number one, and not only play, but play loose. Be even better than he's been. Not have that monkey on his back. And guess what he hadn't done? He hadn't played. He's just not even showing up. I mean, I am disappointed in Rory. I really am. I don't know, man. He's losing me as a fan. That's my overreaction. Jack Nicklaus started this tournament. And Jack Nicklaus was asked about Rory skipping the Memorial this weekend. He said, I didn't have a conversation with him, but I am surprised, said Jack Nicklaus. Again, let's see. Since winning the Masters and completing the Grand Slam, McIlroy has played the Zurich Classic, right, where he was teamed with Shane Lowry, and he played in the PGA Championship. That's it. That's it. That's the only ones. That's the only ones that he's played in. So it's disappointing. It really is. Maybe he'll play next week in the RBC Canadian Open, which he's won in recent years, I believe 2022. But I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it on the part of Rory McIlroy. He has disappointed me. He's losing me a little bit as a fan. That's one of my overreactions on this Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. Tolos, if you just tuned into the show, it is time to overreact in this segment. You only have a few minutes left. The segment's coming to an end. Let's see, Madcraft JD getting the conversation stirred up on the stream. 124 Tolos watching there. Madcraft says, I don't have the energy to fight with you today, Cole. Madcraft, we're not going to fight. Not going to fight? What do you mean? We're not going to fight. I'm going to agree with you and tell you you're right. The Braves don't suck. I'm going to tell you you've never been wrong. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. 844 fan phone. That's the number. The phone lines are open. Text line, Hub City Spartanburgers text line as well. Whatever your overreaction may be, it don't have to be sports related. It can be. It doesn't have to be. How about this for those NASCAR fans out there? I will say I've got two more overreactions, and both of them are NASCAR related. JD, I know you're out there on the stream. I don't know if our resident Tolo JB and Dan B are in the stream. I know that we have a lot of NASCAR guys on the stream, but I will tell you on this Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday that what Joey is trying to do, what Kyle Larson is trying to do is just plain dumb. I think it's Kyle Larson's time to say, look, I'm going to commit to one or the other. It's something that has done. Like, I know that Tony Stewart finished top 10 back in, 01 in both races. But when it comes to trying the double, trying to run in the Indy 500 and then get on a plane and go to Charlotte and race in the 600, I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. It's time to pick, Kyle. I get it. You want to win both. You want to race in both. I got a lot of pushback on Twitter over the weekend on that take, but I just think it's time to pick. Commit to one. If you want to do that, take a series off of the Cup Series for a year and go race Indy cars, because it's a different sport. It really is. And for you to try to have to hop over there and race in the Indy, congratulations, Kyle Larson. You ranked in the Indy, and then you came to Charlotte, and you ranked in Charlotte not once but twice. So congratulations. You ranked twice at two different tracks. I think that's dumb. This whole doing the double, I mean, come on. Pick a sport. JD says, I wasn't a big fan of the 600. JD, my overreaction is, are you crazy? Are you crazy? You're the only person on planet Earth that I've heard from on social media or talked to from the weekend that wasn't a big fan of the 600. I thought it was one of the best races of the year. I think it's up there with top three. I thought it was a fantastic race. You weren't a big fan. I don't understand. I'd love to know why. I mean, the Carson Hocevar story, his engine blowing late, him being right there, Denny Hamlin running out of gas, the can getting stuck and not being able to go in when he was down in the pits for fuel, Ross Chastain coming from last to first time since 1969 that's happened. I don't know, man. I thought this 600 was one of the best of the year. Loved it. Loved it on Sunday. And that brings me to my third overreaction on this Overreaction Monday on Tuesday. NASCAR needs to stay on Prime. I mean, come on. I know it's not your traditional TV, and if you don't have Prime, you can't watch. I get it. But NASCAR on Prime was sensational. It was the best it's been all year. The broadcast was great. Dale Jr. was fantastic. If you're a NASCAR fan, I would love to know what you thought about NASCAR on Prime. It was fantastic. They can say what they want to say. They can, they don't have to. There's nothing censored. It's brutally. Carson Hocevar, his reaction to the engine blowing, what Charlotte did pre-race with the patriotism and then just Memorial Day, everything. I just thought it was a really good product. Sold out race in Charlotte. I thought it was one of the best of the year. I really do. I was super, super high on the 600. Now, I watched the Indy 500. I'll tell you this. It doesn't do it for me. Indy car racing just doesn't move the needle for me. I watched. There was nothing that I watched where I said, I don't know. I get it. It's a spectacle. It's millions and millions of people watched. I understand that, but I just couldn't. I couldn't find myself invested in the Indy 500. But when it comes to the 600, man, it was the storylines, the drama, the rivalries, the run. It was awesome. It was a really good race Sunday in my mind. So I think it needs to stay on Prime. I thought Prime did a fantastic job with their broadcast and their coverage on Sunday night in Charlotte. Packed house, weather cooperated. I don't know, man. It was fun. Tolo's a interview with the upstate baseball coach, Kane Sweeney. We are giving you heavy coverage of the Clemson Regional. Later in the show, we're going to bring on live Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach at Kentucky. The four teams playing, we're providing coverage all day today. Tomorrow, leading up to Friday, we'll have that interview with Kane Sweeney of USC Upstate next. this weekend's regional. First, we bring on Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. You've heard him on this show before. Coach, how are you?
Oh, doing great. Better than the last time that I think I was on the show.
Well, hopefully it
stays.
stays.
Good time too.
Hopefully it stays that way, Coach. We appreciate you taking time to join us in the midst of a busy week. Congratulations on making the postseason. Before we get into what happened in the tournament and what lies ahead this weekend, can you give our listeners out there that really don't know what it looks like this week for a team like USC Upstate to have to go to Clemson? Obviously not a far drive this weekend in the regional, but your preparation leading up to this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I mean, obviously we're doing scouting reports and all that as a coaching staff, but for our players, it's still kind of the same schedule that we've been on. You know, we're going to lift in the mornings, we're going to practice in the afternoon. We'll talk about scouting report stuff probably tomorrow. We'll start diving in a little bit with our players so they have an idea. At this point, we're still kind of trying to figure out what we think Clemson is going to do against us in terms of what their pitching plan is and what they're going to do offensively. I think they're a different team than they were when they played us earlier in the year, and we're a different team than we were when we played earlier in the year. So kind of curious to see what changes have been made from their end of things and what changes have been made from our end of things, and go play ball.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. We'll dive back into that in just a few minutes, Coach, about Clemson and your previous matchup with them. But let's talk about that Big South Championship, the tournament you guys, Winthrop, High Point, and Charleston Southern, 7-0 against Winthrop, 13-9 against High Point, and then 14-2 against Charleston Southern. Did you feel like going into the tournament with a sweep over UNC Asheville, and then obviously some really good series with like PC and Longwood before that y'all were really playing your best baseball heading into the Big South Championship tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like we played our best baseball the last month of the year. I think going in, I was hoping the tournament would work out exactly how it did. And, we play 3 games. We get to throw our best arms and, win 3 games and come back home and get to go play in a regional. So knowing how well we were playing at the end of the year, I felt pretty confident going into the tournament. Especially, we were kind of fighting towards the end of the year trying to figure out if we were going to be the 1 or 2 seed. But we knew that we were going to get a bye in the conference tournament. And for us, it was just go out, play ball, and do our thing. If we took care of business on our end, I felt really good about our chances of playing in the NCAA tournament. And obviously for USC Upstate, it's the first time that we've been there. So couldn't be more thrilled to have the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. It's something I've talked about, a lot, even in the past few years when I was an assistant coach here. It's something that we've wanted to do and wanted to get back to. And, for us, man, really fortunate to go have the opportunity to do that this week and get the experience for these guys.
We're joined right now on the Van Upstate by Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. Coach, you mentioned a minute ago in that last answer that you felt like you guys were playing your best baseball in the last month or month and a half or so of the season. What contributed to that? Why do you feel like, or what players on your team stepped up in a manner of which you guys were then able to go play your best baseball?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, we've been really good all year, but we kind of turned it up to another level the last month or two. We found, new ways to score and kind of got creative offensively. We're still hitting the long ball. And I think the thing that's allowed us to be successful is we can score in a multitude of ways, so we can apply pressure in a lot of different ways. The biggest changes that we made throughout the year, in my opinion, we had Henry Zener hitting in the middle of our lineup or towards the bottom of our lineup, and we slid him up to the leadoff spot in about the midway point in the year. And I felt like that kind of settled everything offensively for us. Everybody kind of fell into their roles and became really confident. And then on the mound, Ant Phillips started the year as our closer. He finished the year as our Friday guy. He threw a shutout in the conference tournament last week on 103 pitches. So he's a really talented arm, and I think him moving to the rotation kind of solidified our pitching staff a little bit. And then we added Cooper Ellingworth, who was our Friday guy. He actually finished last year in the back end of our bullpen. He is now back in the back end of our bullpen, where I think he's most comfortable, and he's throwing the ball really well right now too. So our pitching staff has kind of found their roles. Our offense has found their roles, and I think just them kind of being confident in the roles that they're in and going out and doing their thing, that's what's allowed us to be successful here down the stretch.
Coach, I was having this conversation yesterday with one of your former players that you coached about a team like USC Upstate having to go into a regional against really good competition, right? Obviously, pitching is the biggest concern for a lot of teams that are coming out of or going into the tournament in a position like USC Upstate is, maybe just not having the pitching depth that a lot of these other teams feel like they have. Is that your biggest concern? I don't know if you would use the word concern or not, but going into this regional, is that kind of where you'd land in terms of the balance of these teams just not having the same pitching?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look, I mean, I don't have concerns about it. I probably wouldn't use concerns. I mean, I think we've kind of found our recipe that works with our pitching staff. I feel like we do have viable pieces that can have success against these teams that are in our regional, but to me, it's different every year. I think every team kind of goes through the same things, and it depends on the level that you're at. Does Clemson and West Virginia and Kentucky have probably a deeper talent pool to pull from? Yeah, sure. But, I think for us, we have some highly competitive kids that have gotten outs in a lot of big games. So for me, I feel good about where our pitching staff is at. We've thrown the ball pretty well here in the last month or two. And outside of a couple games here and there that have gotten out of hand, like some of our midweek games have gotten, a little high scoring, but for the most part, our weekend series, we've kept teams off the board and played good defense behind them. So I'm hoping that we can do that again this week and, play a couple competitive games and hopefully surprise some people out there.
We're joined right now by Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. Coach, let's go back to a conversation you brought up a minute ago about the last matchup you guys had against Clemson back in early March at Fluor Field here in Greenville. 7-0 Clemson win for the Tigers on that night. With that being so long in the rearview mirror, Coach, do you take anything away from that game, or do you look at it as a clean slate going into this weekend against the Tigers?
I feel like it's a clean slate, but I do think you take kind of bits and pieces from what happened there. For us, it was a highly competitive game for about 8 innings, and we really let it slip away from us in the ninth. I think it was 3-0 going into the ninth inning. So we had it kind of right where we wanted. We didn't get a couple big hits and things like that we are getting right now, and hopefully we'll get this weekend. But we threw some good arms in there. Some guys that were not in our rotation that are now currently in our rotation, and Clemson used some good arms that are now throwing a lot for them as well. So it wasn't like, I think both teams threw pretty good arms in that game. For us, I'm interested to see kind of what they look like now. I know I've watched them play obviously, and to me Clemson's a really disciplined team. They have a good plan. They know who they are. I think they have a good identity, and obviously credit to their coaching staff for that. And we know we're going to have our hands full in front of 7,000 people there at DKS, and it'll be fun. I think it's a good experience for our guys. Right now, our guys are pretty loose and laid back, and going out there having fun playing ball, and that's what I like about this team. They're not making the moment too big. They're just going to go out and enjoy it and embrace it, and hopefully we can go out and play good baseball.
Coach, your thoughts on the other two teams, obviously in this 4-team regional, when you guys, were shown on TV is going or is having to go to the Clemson Regional. Your team very excited, as you mentioned, very loose. But your big picture outlook, obviously you just talked about Clemson, but the other two teams that you could potentially face as well.
Yeah, so the funny thing is one of our former players is actually playing at West Virginia right now. I was able to coach him for 3 years, and Jace Reinhardt. And really good player. It's gonna be really cool to get an opportunity to see him. But yeah, I know West Virginia's got a good pitching staff. I know offensively they have a couple guys that are really swinging it well right now. They've been kind of up and down here. It seems like the last couple weeks. In Kentucky, we played Kentucky opening weekend last year. And I got a pretty good idea of kind of who they are and what they do and how they play. I know they like to run. I know they play a little bit smaller brand of baseball, but not to say they can't leave the yard, but I think it's one of those things. I think Kentucky is well coached. I think they were when we played them last year. I think they're incredibly disciplined. They have a game plan. They stick to it. I don't know as much about West Virginia. I haven't had an opportunity to see them near as much as I see Kentucky, but I know West Virginia's won a ton of games this year, and there's a lot of credit to them for that. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do to win the amount of games that they've won. So. I know it's a tough regional. I know we got a tough task ahead of us with whoever we play, but it should be a lot of fun for our guys.
Coach, when you look at what happened in the Big South tournament, we mentioned that a minute ago, but also when you look ahead to what your team needs to do, talk about that 1, 2, 3, those 1, 2, 3 holes for you. I mean, against Charleston Southern, 9 combined hits from your 1, 2, 3. Do you feel like those guys especially are the heart and soul of this offense, and the rest of the team kind of goes as those 3 go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could say that, but I mean, we've had plenty of scoring opportunities deep down our lineup as well. I mean, we've scored 6, 7, 8, 9. Our 6-hole Preston Lucas, our catcher, has been one of our best hitters in the last month. Scott Newman, our 5-hole, has really started to turn a page. Johnny Sweeney, our 4-hole, had a monster year for us. But 1, 2, 3 definitely helps set the table and definitely are the catalysts of our offense. I think it starts at the top with Henry Zener. He's been a guy that once he moved into that role as our leadoff hitter has really embraced it and kind of set the tone for our entire offense. Van Sheehan, in my opinion, is one of the best shortstops in the entire country, and he hits in our 2-hole. He makes some unbelievable plays defensively as well as gives you quality at bat after quality at bat. And Scott Campbell is kind of the surprise of the year, I think, for us. And a ton of credit to him. He wasn't starting in right field the first couple weekends, and it makes me look like a bad coach, the fact that he wasn't playing, looking at the numbers he's got. But no, he stepped into a role and just ran with it and has had a phenomenal season. I couldn't be more proud of the work that he's put in to get where he's at right now. I think he's hitting 400 to finish the year, and a ton of walks, a ton of free bases, doesn't strike out much, probably the Energizer Bunny for our team. We kind of go as he goes. So we definitely have a lot of pieces offensively and a lot of guys I could compliment because they've done tremendous jobs stepping up and playing big roles for us.
Coach, congratulations on the draw in the postseason. We appreciate you taking time to hop on, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Coach Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. Those guys making the short trek to Clemson this weekend for the Clemson Regional. That will be a lot of fun. The 4 teams, Clemson obviously hosting West Virginia, Kentucky, and USC Upstate. Those are the 4 teams battling for a spot in the Super Regionals. Shout out to Coach Sweeney for hopping on with us. Really, really good interview, as he always is. We've had him on before. You've heard him on this station before. So much appreciate him taking time to jump on with us. But guess what? That's not it, Tolos. We have more where that come from, or where that came from, as they say. More where that came from, because at 6:40 we'll talk to Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach at Kentucky, who's also a team in the Clemson Regional. Next, only in South Carolina. Wait until you hear this. Maybe you've already heard about it. I'll play this audio for you next.
Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. Clemson will take on South Carolina Upstate, while Coastal Carolina faces Fairfield in their NCAA baseball tournament opening games this Friday at 6 o'clock. The time.
Clemson and South Carolina baseball both punched out over the weekend. Incredible seasons for John Rittman. Incredible seasons for Ashley Chastain Woodard, who you heard on this show just a couple of weeks ago. But just brutal losses. JD mentioned it for South Carolina during the Overreaction Monday segment back at 5 o'clock. It was a tough weekend, I want to dive into that in this very segment. We have an audio blitz coming your way in about 15 minutes. Some of the best audio from the sports world over the weekend. Hub City Spartanburgers text line still open at 844-326-3663. But I've got to share this funny audio. I mean, this is just too good not to share. It's sad. I'm not laughing at what happened, but it's just one of those only in South Carolina type moments, right? If you did not hear, maybe you were there. Maybe you know somebody that was there. But we here in South Carolina, we here in the upstate, can't even go to a high school softball game without just deciding, hey, let's just have a brawl. How about this audio from WYFF4?
Also in Anderson County, 4 people have been charged after a fight at a softball game. Deputies have now charged 25-year-old Dylan Chapman, his wife Brianna Brown, Donald Chapman, and Wayne Smith with disturbing a school. They say Smith and the Chapmans were at the center of the fight, which happened at Belton Honeypath High School. Deputies say words were exchanged between the two groups. Several law enforcement officers had to step in and break it up. Deputies are still investigating, and more charges are possible.
You know, if you haven't seen this video yet, you need to go to WYFF4 and check it out. I mean, only in South Carolina, we can't even have a civil high school softball game without a brawl erupting. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. It's comical and sad at the same time. It's not like 1 or 2 people just going at it. I mean, it's a good group of 10, 15, maybe 20 rednecks just hacking away over in BHP, over in Anderson. You know, every time you turn the news on, it's Anderson that has the bad story, right? Something bad happened over in Anderson. But come on. I mean, come on. JD on the YouTube stream says BHP doing BHP type things. Back to our point about fans, players, and parents doing too much to be uncivilized. JD, have you seen the video? If you haven't, I saw it over the weekend a couple of times. It is bad. I mean, we have gotten so, to your point, to a place in society where we can't even function. We can't even go to a high school softball game without wanting to start an all-out brawl. I mean, like I said, not just 1 or 2 guys fighting, just a bunch of people fighting, going at it over in BHP. They've got to be related to Rick, right? Rick and Greer. I don't know. Rick, are you still there? You still listening? Are those your relatives? I'm kidding, by the way. Love you, Rick. But it is it's comical, but at the same time, like I said, it's sad. But I had to bring that up because it was local. Maybe you listening, maybe you were there. Maybe you have a kid. I know I have listeners over that way, BHP, you know, in the upstate. Maybe you had a friend that was there. If you did, let us know. I'd love to hear your side of the story. It's like I said, it's only in South Carolina, right? Only in South Carolina. But back to South Carolina softball, you know, we don't talk a ton of softball on this show, but with both programs, both in-state programs having such phenomenal seasons we did, and we had the coach on. JD says both Clemson and Carolina will be in the Women's College World Series for softball next year, I do believe. There's a good chance, man. There's a good chance. Like both teams, both programs are really good. Starting with Clemson, you know, it's funny. There were a lot of people who weren't really high on John Rittman and maybe wanting a change for Clemson softball. South Carolina just had a change not long ago when it comes to their softball program. And I'll say this, man, for Ashley Chastain Woodard, for her to step in and then be as successful as they were in season 1, man, if you're a Gamecock fan, that's got to make you feel good because they were really, really good this year. You've got a really, really good head coach in Ashley Chastain Woodard, And I'll tell you what, they're going to be good for a long time, to JD's point. They really are. And Clemson, same boat, man, that, a young program that hadn't been around forever that John Rittman did an incredible job with. I thought after what I saw Thursday, was it Thursday they went to Texas and it was Thursday night. When they went to Texas and put it on the Longhorns, I thought, man, this team might win in 2, right? That they might, sure enough, they might be in the College World Softball Series, but obviously Texas, tough team, hard to beat 3 times, or twice rather. UCLA, same situation, a very good UCLA team. There was a lot of drama in Columbia over the weekend with UCLA and some of their players not kneeling or not standing for the national anthem and kneeling instead, and a lot of bickering going back and forth, in the stands between fans. So, look, it's tough. It's tough to see. It's tough to see both programs lose this week. And I thought for sure we were going to get one of them in the World Series. I really did, and I thought it was going to be Clemson after the way they beat Texas on Thursday. But again, it's like I said back in segment 1. This time of year, man, it's tough. JD says for Chastain Woodard to do it her first season and for what Paul did in his first year makes it look so much more impressive, in my opinion. Yeah, I know, JD. It's tough. It is tough because of multiple factors with what happened with Paul Mainieri, but it is a little bit different as well, a little bit different situations. South Carolina was loaded with talent on the softball field, not exactly loaded with talent on the baseball diamond, right? Talent, I wouldn't say loaded with talent. Still doesn't take away, though. You're right. It was a tough year for Paul Mainieri, a very, very tough year. How about Tolos and Audio Blitz? Look, during the course of a weekend, especially with a long weekend like we just had, there's a lot of audio to catch up and hear from, and coaches, hear from coaches, players, all kind of people. All kind of interviews, all kind of audio, play-by-play. Audio Blitz, we're going to throw it at you. I say I'm going to throw it at you in one segment in the very next hour to start the Power Hour, hour number 4 of the show. Diesel is on vacation this week. I'm riding solo, and we'll get into Nick's Pacers a little bit later in the show as well. Also, we'll have Nick Mingione, the head coach of Kentucky baseball, on the show to preview the Clemson Regional from his standpoint. All that and more right here on the Fan Upstate. It's time to hit you right in the face, right in the mouth with the best audio from the sports weekend. A ton of audio that I'm going to throw at you right now in this very segment. It is an old-fashioned audio blitz for you on this Tuesday. I don't know if it's just me. I just looked out the window. It's 6 o'clock here in the upstate, here in Greenville, where our studios are. It looks like it's dark. We do have tinted windows. It looks like it's already dark outside. With this weather, it feels like it's February all over again. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not feeling this weather. I am ready. Give me sunshine and 85. Boy, am I ready for that. But, Tolo, so good to be with you. Hour number 4, the final hour or the power hour of the show. I'm Cole Bryson. Diesel's still on vacation. I said still on vacation. He just started vacation. Diesel's on vacation. How about that? A lot more coming your way in the show today. We're going to get into tonight's game between the Knicks and the Pacers in the next segment. And then we also, at 6:40, we're not done with our guest for today. Coming up at 6:40, Nick Minchione, the head coach of Kentucky baseball, previewing the Clemson Regional that Kentucky will compete in this weekend. But a lot of audio, and I mean a lot of audio to get to here in this very segment and a good old-fashioned audio blitz. Let's start with Ronald Acuna Jr. I know the Braves have been losing as of late, but this makes you feel a little better, right?
Look at this! Are you kidding me? He is back!
He is back indeed. Ronald Acuna Jr., the very first pitch. What does he do? The very first pitch back, he takes a yard. That happened Friday night. Really impressive. We all love that Ronnie's back. If you're a Braves fan, we know the Braves aren't very good right now. They're not playing their best baseball. That's part of it, right? Maybe they'll get better. But Ronald Acuna coming back in the fashion that he did, man, that was flat impressive. And then he did it again the next day. He's back, and that's one thing we can all be excited about. I know that, again, we all want the Braves to be better than they are. But the fact that he's back in this lineup, that gives you a lot of hope. Here is his second home run. One was not enough for Ronald Acuna.
This ball is hammered. Enjoy it. Watch it go. Acuna has done it again.
So not once over the weekend, but twice Ronald Acuna goes a yard. Fantastic return for him. The Braves, in case you missed it, are back in action tonight at Philadelphia, as one audio was playing a little prematurely there. One piece of audio was. But Braves back in action tonight on the road. Philadelphia, the number 1 team in the NL East. The Braves need this one, buddy. They really do. Next piece of audio in this audio blitz, Colin Priest of Clemson with the dagger over the weekend. Clemson had a really good weekend in the ACC tournament. However, the championship game didn't go their way, but, man, they were really, really good at times this weekend.
Clubbed by Priest. Oh, man!
This was in the win over Georgia Tech, by the way.
Absolutely destroyed by Priest.
Oh, boy.
.426 feet for Colin Priest.
It comes in at 95 and it leaves at 110. He was all over that fastball. The 12th home run of the season for Colin Priest.
Clemson definitely going to need more of that in the regional this weekend, as if you just tuned into the show, if you've been working your butt off and you did not know, Clemson hosting a regional this weekend. They are the 1 seed in the regional. They will have Kentucky, West Virginia, and USC Upstate joining them in that regional. So shout out to Colin Priest. We talked about the play earlier with Eli White. What happened? Third base coach down the line. There's a sign that the runner needs to come around the bag. Obviously, some miscommunication as we talked about earlier in the show. Eli White's been really good this year for the Braves, the hometown kid from right here in Greenville. But Brian Snitker was asked after the game just exactly what happened.
I haven't seen him to talk to him. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to find out what he saw or what happened there. I've never, it's unfortunate.
I mean, too, he's just holding his hands up. I mean,
I don't know. He's down the line, and, if a third base coach is down the line, that's a sign that the runner needs to, come around the bag and pick him up.
Do you think when you were looking at the play kind of from your angle, do you think it just looked like Eli thought it was caught? Because he kind of just turned
Well, he
around
obviously did, I think. I mean, I don't, that wouldn't be the reaction of the third base coach. It would have been, and he too, if you run on that one and caught, you're not going to get back even if he caught it.
If you didn't see the play, by the way, it was brutal. Eli White heading to third, retreats, and he just assumed that the ball in shallow right field was caught. However, it wasn't caught. And obviously that's a big deal. Bottom of the ninth, you want to be able to get that one, right? You want to be able to get that one run across and somehow, some way, take 2 of 3 against the Padres. So tough loss for the Braves. Here is Chris Finch last night after the postgame or during the postgame presser after the Game 4 loss to Oklahoma City.
Team like this, if you're certainly turning it over 20-plus times and letting them have a bunch of second-chance opportunities, and we knew that. So
Shea and J-Dub just really had it in the fourth, like what made it so difficult to defend and keep them from getting
they got to their spots and they rose up and made shots over us, but we got to do a better job of trying to contain that first dribble like we did Game 3. Did a much better job there. So
tough loss for the Timberwolves, man. Chris Finch, good coach. Nobody denies that, but just a brutal loss. How about the Indy 500, Tolos? Did you watch the Indy 500 on Sunday? I did. It didn't do much for me. Here's Scott McLaughlin after crashing out the last few, or on the pace laps of the Indy 500. Very, very upset. One of the worst moments of his life, he says.
Rookie, I don't know what. I really have no idea what happened. Just really upset for my team. They built me a fantastic car again. I'm really sorry to my sponsors, my fans, my family. I don't know what happened. I can't believe we're out of the race. I just had so much hope today, and it's by far the worst moment of my life. So I'm just, I know it's probably dramatic and it's whatever, but it's just like I put so much into this race that everyone does, and I'm just didn't even get to see the green flag.
Imagine crashing on the pace lap of the Indy 500. I mean, come on. That is brutal. That is so brutal. I don't know, who's to blame there, if it were him or, I don't know. If it were something wrong with the car or whatever. It's tough, though. Biggest moment of the year, biggest event of the year is the Indy 500, and you crash on the pace lap. He said it. He said it was the worst moment of his life. Like in that moment, like you said, it may seem, over dramatic, but to go out there on the pace lap and crash, and you don't even get to see the green flag, it is brutal. That is so brutal. So a tough break there in the Indy 500. Speaking of crashing, Kyle Larson, he attempted the double again on Sunday, tried to do the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. However, the only thing he accomplished is crashing at both tracks.
Up the corner. First caution of the night.
Straight, keep it straight.
Had the anxious moment when we came back from a commercial break, and this time,
you want to come straight to us here?
And this time it gets away from him.
Kyle Larson, man, just not his day Sunday. He really did struggle. It was Ross Chastain, excuse me. It was Ross Chastain that took the lead from William Byron in the closing laps. Here's how that sounded.
Trying to go low. A lot of speed right there. Chastain can't quite capitalize, though, but he's right there. Wow, he's got a shot.
Denny Hamlin is there, and here comes Chastain.
Chastain to the inside.
Ross
Is it a slide
Chastain
job?
drives down low, slides up high. Is there room?
Oh, the 24
Ross
is in the wall.
Chastain to the lead.
Unbelievable. And the lap traffic is what did it. Now Chastain has to go on the offense. But he has to watch that mirror. He's got still 2 cars in front of him. Can he keep
laps.
And Ross Chastain, by the way, ends up winning in Charlotte in the Coca-Cola 600. I said earlier in the show, I thought it was a really, really good race in Charlotte. It was full of drama, a lot of restarts, and, man, it was a fun one. The moment you were waiting for, do you recognize these voices at the Indy 500 on Sunday? If you're a baseball fan, you might. See if you can pick up who this was.
Please welcome today's Grand Marshals, 5-time World
Well,
Series.
you're going to know now because they're introducing them.
Along with 14-time All-Star A-Rod.
A-Rod and Derek Jeter.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Drivers, to your cars.
What do you think? I mean, not real dramatic, just a simple.
Drivers, to your cars.
Not bad there by A-Rod and Derek Jeter. Not bad. Not the most dramatic. Not like the start your engines in NASCAR, if you will. But that was at the Indy 500. I did, in the 5 o'clock segment, have an overreaction when it came to Kyle Larson and him doing this double, attempting the double. I said it was dumb. I said I don't think he needs to do it. I think he needs to stick to one sport. Dale Jr. just a couple of days ago, not long ago at all, was interviewing Larson about that. Here's what he said.
If last year had gone smooth, maybe I wouldn't be doing this year. But last year didn't go exactly how we all planned, so I really wanted to do this year. So
that's because if I'm a fan, I'm gonna be like torn to pull for you to have a good result because I want you to go back and do it again. But if you have a good result, you might not.
I would like to do it again someday where I'm like,
I think the only way
fully committed mentally.
Yeah.
I can't fully commit to Indy in the middle of our NASCAR Cup Series schedule and points chasing and all the other stuff that I have going on. But then I look at it, I'm like, well, I'm 32. I'll be going on 33.
Every time was full.
And that's the thing, man. Like, that was my biggest gripe. It's hard to do both if you're not going to commit to the Indy. I mean, Kyle Larson's in the middle of the NASCAR Sprint Cup chase, right? And for him to, I get it. It's cool. It hasn't been done often. For him to go race in the Indy 500 and have to rely on so many different variables and factors, it's tough, man. It's tough to get in a plane and fly to Charlotte and for everything to go swimmingly. The chances, the odds are low. They just are. And again, if weather comes up, like last year, if weather pops up, he's pretty much done, right? There's pretty much no way you can do both. It's a cool feat. It would be awesome for him or somebody else to be able to say they did that. But at the end of the day, to his point, if you're going to try to pull the double, you're going to have to commit to Indy, I think, a little bit more because Indy's a different sport. He knows how to race in NASCAR, but Indy's just a different sport. And he crashed, had it right over there in Indy, and it's tough. But Kyle Larson, you do have to tip your cap for the effort, right? You really do. You love to see the effort. I just don't know if it's actually going to be done one day or not. Here was Ross Chastain on PRN last night after the win.
I don't want to win races by 10 seconds a lap. I have no interest in winning by a lap ever. So as soon as I got the lead, it was just don't hit the wall, don't get tight. We're both tight. The 24 and the one car had very similar setups tonight. Part of the Chevy Key Partner Alliance, we worked together. And so I knew that he was tight. I knew I was tight. And we're both sliding our front tires. So I just thought, give myself some wiggle room off the wall. And he wasn't able to get back to it.
Credit to Ross Chastain. I did think Denny Hamlin, who was a lap back, did aid him a little bit there toward the end of the race. In case you missed it, we talked about it in the Daily Wires. Ben Griffin, the North Carolina Tar Heel alum, did win the Charles Schwab. He had a nice weekend. Here was some audio from him on if he was watching Scotty during the process.
Were you looking a little close at the name Scheffler on the leaderboard?
No, I was actually looking yesterday at one point in the round, and I saw I was maybe 13 and he was 7, and I was like, all right, Scotty's probably shooting 10 under tomorrow, so I need to make sure I'm at least 17 under, so I need to keep the pedal down. We're living in a little bit of a Tiger era with Scotty. I mean, he's so dominant, and you can never put anything past him. It could be the hardest holes in golf, and he's going to find a way to make have a birdie look. And so I was fortunate not to see his name up there, but I would not have been shocked for a moment if his name was at 12 or 13 or 14 under, and I was chasing with a few holes to go.
A really nice job by Ben Griffin in the Charles Schwab to get it done. A really tough course in Texas, and like I said, they will now go to Dublin, Ohio this weekend for the memorial that was started by Jack Nicklaus. We're going to get into a little bit more NBA in the next segment, but here is audio from earlier today when we were talking about Tyrese Halliburton earlier. I said that I love Tyrese Halliburton, but I did think that SGA was a little bit better. Here was Marcus Morris this morning on First Take comparing Tyrese Halliburton to an all-time great, and of course Stephen A. Smith not liking his answer.
What Halliburton is doing is similar to what Chris Paul is doing. Like we said, Chris Paul was a superstar, right? Chris Paul was the ultimate general, and that what made him the superstar. He made guys better. He's won games. That's what made him a superstar, right? Like he wasn't the most athletic. He made big shots down the clutch.
Do you realize that when you bring up CP3, you're talking about a top 6, top 7 point guard in history? Do you realize? We're talking about somebody that's been nicknamed a point guard, for crying out loud. Not a point guard, but a point guard, okay?
The numbers say it. The way his trajectory of his career is going is CP3-esque. Like, if we're talking about, if he stay on this same line and continue to get better, he's going to be in that same category as one of the best point guards that ever played.
What do you think? Tyrese Halliburton, as good as he is he comparable in your mind to CP3, a future Hall of Famer? Obviously, we all know how good CP3 was. Last bit of audio I have for you. This one's a short one, but this is what it sounded like when the Canes got their first conference finals win since 2006. We talked about that streak earlier in the show. All streaks come to an end, they say, right?
Panthers net is empty. Here's Kachuk. Blocked off. The net is empty. Jarvis slides it across. Svechnikov with the feed for Aho. Scores!
The Canes finally break the streak. And I'm telling you what, man, I'm not a hockey guru by any stretch, but we talked about it earlier. 15-game losing streak in the Eastern Conference Finals. 3-0 victory over the Florida Panthers in Game 4 on Monday night. This win marked the first in Conference Finals the first win in Conference Finals for the Canes since June 1st, 2006. Think about that. It is now 2025. This was their first win in the Eastern Conference Finals since 2006. I mean, come on. The Canes, prior to this victory, had been swept in 3 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals appearances, 2009, 2019, and 2023, and had lost the first 3 games of the current series against Florida, obviously this season. The 15-game skid was the longest losing streak by any team in a single playoff round other than the Stanley Cup Final in NHL history. Panthers are still obviously leading the series 3-1 in a best-of-7, Game 5 tomorrow night in Raleigh. But for you to get that monkey off your back, that's big. I mean, that's one of the worst streaks in sports history. It really is. And you finally get the monkey off your back. So congratulations to the Hurricanes for winning a Eastern Conference Finals game for the first time since 2006. Isn't that crazy? Tolo's, a lot more coming your way. In the next segment, we'll dive into Knicks Pacers tonight. Also, coming up at about 6:40, Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, joins the show. He's going to talk about that Clemson Regional coming up here in a few days in Clemson. So, Tolo, turn it on and leave it on. NBA playoff discussions next. Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight in just a couple hours from now, 8 o'clock p.m. tip. Pacers, Knicks. I said earlier in the show that I do believe Oklahoma City, Minnesota, that series might be OVER. I think the Thunder win Game 5 at home, close it out 4-1. However, I don't know that this series is over when it comes to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not so sure of it. Welcome into Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryson. Diesel on a little vacation this week. I'm riding solo. A big show coming your way tomorrow, by the way. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, joining us. A lot to get into tomorrow that we didn't have time to today. But also today, Nick Mingione, head coach of Kentucky baseball. The Wildcats are in the Clemson Regional. I'll have him on the show in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned. If you're a Clemson baseball fan, you might want to hear what this coach, who could be playing your team, says in about 10 minutes right here on the Fan Upstate. But Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight between the Knicks and the Pacers. Again, 8 o'clock at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Pacers lead the series 2-1. The Pacers are 2.5-point favorites tonight. I do find this line really, really interesting. The Pacers, according to the ESPN BPI projection, have a 56% chance to win with a projected total of 223.9 points. In Game 3, the Knicks rallied from a 20-point deficit to come back and win 106-100. Karl Anthony Towns was just terrific. 20 of his 24 points came in the fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson also added 23 points despite foul trouble. The Pacers did encounter some shooting woes in Game 3. Indiana shot just 20% from the three-point line, which was 5 of 25, and they turned the ball over 12 times on Sunday in Game 3. Aaron Naismith, Pacers forward, he's a game-time decision tonight due to a right ankle sprain. He's been a huge contributor, and that's something to watch tonight. If you're going to play this game tonight, he's averaging 15.1 points per game. He's shooting 53.5% from behind the arc in the playoffs. So Naismith's status tonight going into this game is huge. I haven't seen whether or not they've cleared him tonight for this game, but this is a big one. He's a big contributor for this Pacers team. The momentum shift is what I'm watching, though, tonight. The momentum shift, like I said a minute ago, or I said earlier in the show, rather, if somehow, some way, the New York Knicks win this game tonight and even the series at 2-2, you'll look back to Game 3 and say, man, Game 3, Indiana has a chance to be up 3-0. They have a 20-point lead. This thing's a wrap. However, that's not what you're going to say. That's what you didn't say. Because Karl Anthony Towns went off in the fourth quarter, the Knicks came back to win the game, and now this series is 2-1. The Pacers had a huge opportunity to basically close this thing out. The Pacers were up 20, up 2-0, had an opportunity to close this thing out and send it home, but they didn't. Now, they could still go up 3-1 tonight. It could happen. However, if they don't, you'll point back to that Game 3 20-point lead that they had, and you'll say, man, they blew it. They absolutely blew it. So if the Knicks can somehow win tonight, you talk about a momentum shift all of a sudden. If the New York Knicks win tonight, you're shifting the momentum. Uncle Mo will be shifted back in favor of New York in a big-time manner, I believe. Can they capitalize on it and win the series? I don't know. Indiana's really, really good. Tyrese Halliburton's really, really good. But nonetheless, New York's capable of doing so. You know what's interesting? Everyone talks about a home court advantage, right? Home court advantage in the NBA. How about a home court disadvantage in this series? Interestingly, the home team in this series has lost each of the first 3 games. Will this trend continue tonight? We'll see. How about Josh Hart? Watch out for him tonight. His impact off the bench has been significant. He was sensational in Game 3. Josh Hart doesn't get talked about enough. Can the Pacers adjust tonight? Can the Pacers adjust to what New York not only did in Game 3, but can the Indiana Pacers adjust to shooting woes again? I think that's going to be something to watch for. Indiana needs to address the turnovers, number one. The first thing, I don't think they're going to go 5 of 25 from three-point land again, Indiana, but you have to address the turnovers tonight. You can't turn the ball over 12 times. And then if you do experience more shooting woes, what do you do to counter that? And then the injury that we talked about with Aaron Naismith, his potential absence, what that does to their rotation. It could be big. But this is a fun rivalry, though. It really is. The Knicks-Pacers have a long-standing playoff rivalry that dates back to the early 1900s. This series marks their 9th postseason meeting. Indiana holding a 5-3 advantage in the previous 8 encounters. You remember the memorable moments, right? Reggie Miller's legendary performances in the 90s. Dramatic victory 1994, 1999. Their last playoff meeting in 2024, Pacers won 7-game series last year. Both franchises are trying to get back, man. Both franchises are vying for a return to the NBA Finals after some serious droughts. I mean, think about the droughts that both of these franchises have had. And I do believe I just saw a ticker go across the bottom of the screen here in our studio that said Aaron Naismith is available tonight. If so, that'd be big. Be really, really big. But you think about the droughts that both of these have had. The Knicks are seeking their first finals appearance since 99, their first championship since 73. The Pacers, meanwhile, aim to reach the finals for the first time since 2000. Still in pursuit of their first NBA title. The Pacers have never won an NBA championship. And then the historic comebacks this season. How about that? The Knicks have made history by overcoming 20-point deficits in 3 separate road games, including their Game 3 victory that I just talked about. No other team in the NBA playoff history has ever achieved 3 such comebacks in a single postseason. That's crazy. It really is. And then, as I mentioned, you got to be road warriors. You've got to be road warriors tonight. The home team has lost the games. As I've mentioned, the Knicks have excelled on the road. They're 6-1 away from Madison Square Garden compared to 5-4 at home, which I don't understand. How are you 5-4 at the Madison Square Garden, but you're 6-1 on the road? That one's interesting. So that would tell you, with this game in Indiana tonight, that would tell you that the Knicks have the advantage. They've been better on the road than they have at home. Now, if you will talk about going up 3-1, you would think that tonight's the night that the Pacers could do it at home. You think about them bouncing back after their shooting woes. They're not going to shoot that poorly again tonight. But what do they say? That's why you play the game, right? I don't know. I think it's going to be a really good game tonight. This one's tough to pick, though. I'll tell you, my mind leans Indiana. My heart leans New York. I'd love to see New York tied up at 2 apiece. But my head tells me, go with Indiana. They're favored by 2.5. 56% chance to win. I think it's going to be a really good game. I really do. Tolos, coming up next, the last segment of the show, saving the best for last, maybe if you're a Kentucky baseball fan. Nick Mingione, the head coach of Kentucky baseball, joins me next. Now, why in the world, if you just got in the car, why in the world am I having the Kentucky baseball coach on the show in the upstate of South Carolina? Well, glad you asked. Kentucky, one of the 4 teams in the Clemson Regional this weekend. We'll get his thoughts on the Clemson Regional next. Final segment of the show, continuing the college baseball conversation as we have since 3 p.m. today. You've heard from Kane Sweeney, the head baseball coach at USC Upstate. Now it's time to continue the conversation with Nick Mingione of Kentucky baseball. Coach, always appreciate you taking time to do some media interviews. I've got to ask, how many times do you get asked how to pronounce Mingione? You can count mine during the break as one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, quite a bit. Obviously, with a last name like that, I have an appreciation for last names, but quite a bit. And
is it Italian, Coach? Is that Italian?
Italian. Come on, you know it. I am.
Man.
I'm Italian. You got it.
We had, I know this is important stuff here. We had another guest on a couple of weeks ago, Italian as well, and we were laughing about the clip of, I believe it was the Louisville basketball or the St. John's coach ranking the top 5 Italian foods. Patino, what is your number one Italian dish? What is your number one Italian dish?
I love me some chicken cutlet parmesan. It's kind of hard to not take down some of that, but. And I also don't know if you qualify pizza as Italian, but I love me some pizza.
And the South, in South Carolina, we'll classify it as whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want it to be. Coach, obviously a big weekend for Kentucky baseball. You guys will be making your trip down here to our neck of the woods. We'll see you this weekend in the Clemson Regional. Just first question for you. What was your and your team reaction when you saw where you were headed for the college baseball postseason?
I would tell you that our team actually celebrated like I hadn't seen them celebrate. And it wasn't because we were going to Clemson. It was because they were in the tournament. You know, anytime you put your season in the hands of other people in a committee, you know, we didn't know how it was going to go. And the whole time we believed we were worthy of being an NCAA tournament, but sometimes beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And so to watch our team celebrate, and it's my understanding, I wasn't even tracking it this closely, but they were. That was really the last regional that we had a chance to go to because the next two were SEC teams, and we weren't going to go there. So that was our last hope. So it was less about where we were going, but the fact that we were going.
Yeah, absolutely. We're joined right now by Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, as he gets his team ready for the Clemson Regional right here in the Upstate this weekend. You mentioned that. That's a fascinating point, Coach. What was your message to your team, like, in the meanwhile, while you didn't know if you were going to be selected or not?
Well, we always believed we were worthy, and we deserved it. So, but you can just, in the room, you could feel the tension in the room as the picks and the teams were being displayed. But I give our team credit. We've had a great week of practice. Even, you know, we got home from the SEC tournament, and they continue to go to work like they have all year long. And but I would tell you that the last 2 days there's been a freedom to them that has been a good thing.
Coach, absolutely understand that. Let me ask you this. When you talk about this season, the ups, the downs, you know, the good times, the bad times that Kentucky baseball has had as you now approach the Clemson Regional this weekend, what was it that you point your finger to that you attribute the lack of success to when you guys weren't playing your best baseball that you tried to correct heading into this weekend?
Well, I can tell you this, like, we've really been in just about every game. And when you go back and you look and do your homework and, like, look at the schedule, it's like, wow, the amount of 1- and 2-run games. I mean, I think it's, I don't know, 19 1- or 2-run losses. I mean, we have been in just about every single fight. So what I boil it all down to, when we win and when we lose, it's all the same. It comes down to the same thing, and that's our ability to execute what we're trying to do. And when we do that, we've had tremendous success. And when we haven't, we've been close. But it's always coming down to a pitch, a play, or an at-bat here or there. But our ability to execute is the key for us.
11 of your 17 SEC losses by either 1 or 2 runs. So to your point, a large majority of them, Coach, as I was just looking that up during your answer there. What is it about these matchups that you could potentially have? Obviously, you guys in the early slot against West Virginia and then Clemson and Upstate Friday night. What is it about these matchups that you and your coaching staff are trying to game plan for?
Well, I can tell you this, and you know this. This is the time of year where literally these are the best teams in the country. These are the best teams that are left. So it's the 64 best teams in the country. And it comes down to each team's ability to really, and quite simply as possible, our ability to pitch, defend, and to be able to have timely hitting. Like, if you do those things, I don't care when it is. Last year, we were SEC champions, and we made it to the College World Series for the first time in school history. And we pitched, we defend, and we had timely hitting. And when you're able to do those things, especially in the postseason, things are going to go your way. And I hate to sound over simple, but really it does come down to those three phases of the game.
Yeah, without a doubt. As we're joined right here on the Fan Upstate, talking a little college baseball by Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach of the Kentucky Wildcats. You mentioned earlier in the interview the way that you guys had to kind of put your fate of the postseason into the committee's hands. Now that you're in the postseason, you mentioned that loose feeling. What is that loose feeling in your experience coaching baseball? What does that freedom do for, or potentially do for your players?
Yeah, that's one thing I'll give this team a lot of credit for is our ability to persevere through a season where it's been good times, there's been bad times, and there's been in between. But this team's ability to move on to the next thing has been really good. And when you watch our team play and you turn on the video, and as you'll see this weekend, they play with freedom. I mean, and they're a connected dugout, tremendous energy, love playing for each other, love playing for Kentucky. And it really shows by the way they serve each other, whether it be in between innings and the way they really pull for each other. It's been a special thing to watch. And it is part of our culture. But, man, when you can get 18 to 24-year-olds to play with nothing to lose, nothing to prove, and nothing to hide, it's a good thing. And that's where that freedom comes in that you're talking about.
Coach, when you look at West Virginia, I'm sure listening out there today, there's a lot of Clemson fans in the audience that don't know a ton about West Virginia. What's one thing that you and your coaching staff have picked up on that maybe somebody listening here in the Upstate wouldn't know about a really good West Virginia team making their way to town as well?
Yeah, I mean, they're as good as team. If not the best team out of the Big 12. I mean, these guys they know how to win. And when you look up, they win games a lot of different ways. They win games on the base pass. They win games with their hitting. They win games with their pitching. I mean, they are a well-balanced team that actually knows how to win. And their head coach is a first-year head coach. He was the assistant. He's done a tremendous job. Matter of fact, he and I graduated from the same college.
No
we
way.
both graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Wow.
In Daytona Beach, Florida. So, yeah, we attended the same college. So, but they know how to win. That's the bottom line. Is they know how to win.
That's incredible. That really is. And then, Coach, before we let you go, last question. When you look at, obviously, you're focused on West Virginia, but when you see the reaction of your team going to the Clemson Regional, what is it that jumps off the page to you about this Clemson team in 2025?
Well, they had a season where they all the great teams, I feel like Clemson, they had stretches where they played unbelievable. They had stretches where they had to grind. They had stretches where they learned how to win, right? Like they've been through all the emotions of the season, and they're playing really good baseball right now. I think when you look up, it's like they're playing as good as they've had all year. So they're really like peaking and clicking at the right time.
Without a doubt, Coach. Appreciate you taking time to hop on with me. Safe travels, and we'll see you this weekend in Clemson.
Thank you for having me. We'll see you this weekend.
Absolutely. You heard him right here on the Fan Upstate, the head baseball coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, Nick Mingione. Appreciate him for taking time to join us on this Tuesday as we look forward to the Clemson Regional. How about that? You've heard from 2 of the 4 coaches today from the Clemson Regional that will be participating this weekend in Clemson, South Carolina. I don't know what other station gets you as ready for that Clemson Regional as we have today. Hearing from Kane Sweeney, hearing from Nick Mingione, that as we just talked to, a fantastic interview. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend in Clemson as we mentioned, West Virginia will take on Kentucky at 12 noon on Friday, and then Friday night, 6 o'clock, first pitch, USC Upstate. Kane Sweeney's team, who you also heard from today, will be taking on Clemson's or Eric Bakwich's Clemson Tigers. I think this is a fun regional. I really do. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think it's a tough, the toughest draw in the world like a lot of Clemson fans are making it out to be. I think there's 4 really respectable teams. And when you get to the postseason, that's what you get. Respectable teams who are good teams. And I think that's what Clemson's going to be up against. So it's going to be a lot of fun, though, man. Kentucky, they have the ability. They've been inconsistent at times, but they have the ability to smash with the best of them. And West Virginia, like he said, 40-plus win team. USC Upstate, USC Upstate, by the way, if you didn't know, they beat NC State by 10 runs not too long ago. So, it's not like it's just, USC Upstate. It's 4 formidable teams that you'll see in Clemson this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. Big shout-out to Nick Mingione for hopping on with me and talking a little Kentucky baseball. We'll do it again tomorrow, Tolos. Wire to Wire, 3 to 7 p.m. tomorrow right here on the Fan Upstate.